Let's go! Welcome into the I-80 Boys podcast. I am one of the hosts of this show, Chris Vaca. This guy who thinks he's the real Chris, which we truly, really do not know his real name. To my left over here, what's up, man?
Chris, what is going on? Another fantastic week is almost in the books. It's hump day, and you know what that means around here, right? That means we only have to take it a little more conservatively on the drinking. So no big deal. What's going on with you, Chris?
Not much, man. Every time we do a podcast, right? I say X amount of days, man. We are right around the corner, Christian. Before this season starts off, week 0 starts on Saturday, Christian. I am super pumped, man. I know there's not a ton of like marquee games, but there's like 6 or 7, man. I am super freaking hyped up. How about you?
Dude, I am ecstatic. I am ready for the season to start, like you said. I mean, we are T-minus, what is it now? 2 days almost? I mean, after tonight, 2 days, and we're right there.
Saturday, baby. Let's go.
Absolutely, Chris. Let's jump into some chat questions here. We've got a couple guys that work at Walmart and Menards, dude. I kind of like that a little bit right there. Some hardworking guys, man.
Yes. I had to laugh. I had to drop that in the IO boys chat. These guys look like they're getting it. Love you guys both. These guys have been long supporters of the channel since it started. These guys seem to not like each other. I think we got somebody from Bama. Basically, we got some guy up here in the Midwest. I'm not sure what's going on, but I have to laugh, though, overall, though. No, I will answer. Chris has said something about what about UGA with a three-peat this year, Christian? This is your team that we're talking about. I think they have a good chance. I do. I actually think UGA makes the playoffs this year. Whatever happens from there happens. A lot of people, and we watch a lot of sports and a lot of college football podcasts. A lot of people think that UGA has got a soft schedule. I don't necessarily think it's soft. The first 4 or 5 games are, but man, after that, you guys do get in the heart of the SEC. So I think it's going to be pretty interesting this year. You guys got to play Tennessee. I think you guys will end up meeting up with LSU at the end of the year for the SEC title game. So I do think Georgia's. I think a lot of it just comes down to Carson Beck, right? I mean, I think that's kind of the big question. Can he fill in for Stetson Bennett? I think he can. He's probably more talented arm-wise, but Stetson Bennett was such a leader. If he can kind of, I want to say half-assed fulfill that role, dude, I think Georgia's going to be right in there. I think their defense is going to be great. Every Kirby Smart football team has a great defense. I'll kick it over to you. You're obviously the expert.
Well, Chris, thank you for finally admitting that. No, I think I think you're exactly right. I mean, Carson Beck has the talent. He was definitely, he was more talented, I think, obviously, than Stetson Bennett. I mean, we've had some more talented quarterbacks, obviously, even than Carson Beck, right? But the question really comes down to, and they actually named him the starter this week, which is very atypical of a Kirby Smart-led team. They normally don't do that. So I think they just wanted to kind of go ahead and, just name him the starter, move on with it. He's going to be our guy. We're going to see what happens this season. So to me, he's looked good in limited action, but again, he's not really started a game at this level, and we don't necessarily know what can he do when given the keys to the Porsche, right? Can you keep it in the lanes and do what you need to do, right? When we do need to accelerate, can you still keep it in the lanes? And that's the biggest question mark, I think, for Georgia this year is going to be led by, hey, we're going to be running back by committees. One of our second/third string running backs, Branson Robinson, out for the year. One of the hard parts about being, the way Kirby likes to practice and do things, I guess, is, dude, they're banged up. Georgia's super banged up coming into this year. Like you said, you kind of touched on it, right? Though, I mean, they've got a 3-game stretch that should be pretty easy for them. Then we go play South Carolina, so. Yeah, I mean, so it's going to be one of those things where, like I said, I think Georgia's going to be just fine. Schedule should be pretty easy, and like I said,
Christian, I got to ask you a question. Not to add on to Crixus there, asked if the deal will be good, but I got to ask a question. Like, Beck's first road game is going to be against Auburn at Auburn. Yeah, I mean that's a big one, week 5, man. I mean, how do you think he fares in that? Like, that's a tough environment to play in, regardless whether you're the number 1 team in the nation, which Georgia hypothetically should be, but anybody that's come through there, Auburn can have a 6-6 season, but knock off a number 2 Alabama team. We've seen it before. How do you? I mean, that like, to me, is Kirby Smart, trying to prepare him for that? I mean, after the first 4 or 5 games, 4. I mean, that's a huge game for a Georgia team that has a ton of pressure on them this year. I know you want to laugh over there, but Georgia, everybody is asking this question. Can't Georgia three-peat? There's like 2 types of fans out there this year, Christian. I think I mentioned it a week ago. People that want Georgia to repeat, which is everybody in Georgia or down south that do love the Bulldogs, or everybody else in the country that doesn't want to see it happen. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a weird season. You don't see this ever. But like once every 20 years, somebody, wins 2 in a row, and then everybody's, saying, hey, we're going on the other side of history here, and we think that this team's going to win 3 in a row, which hasn't been done since the 30s, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely not wrong there, man. I mean, listen, Auburn's going to be a question mark to me. I'm not so much worried about Auburn this year, right? Just because they went out and they get Peyton Thorne. Auburn obviously named him their starting quarterback in the last couple of weeks. Yeah, Michigan State quarterback. I think Peyton Thorne had one really good year there at Michigan State, if I'm remembering right, and then he's looked kind of man, he's just been a run-of-the-mill quarterback in the Big Ten, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily scare me, I guess, coming over to the SEC. But hey, man, you never know, right? I mean, could he have a Joe Burrow-like season, where he kind of can lead them to do something and go to new heights in 1 year? I don't know. But I can tell you this, man. Give me Kirby, give me the Dogs in those games. I was actually off a little bit. Georgia plays 2 games. They play UT Martin and Ball State, and then they play South Carolina. To me, the biggest
okay.
Yeah, so it's week 3. I said 3 games, but I was looking ahead a little bit to UAB. Can't do that, right? If you do that, then South Carolina will prove to be a trap game, which, again, that brings up a good point here, and I've touched on it. I think South Carolina, to me, Spencer Rattler has looked very hot and very cold at times at South Carolina, right? And Shane Beamer, if he can get that defense kind of taking that next step, and all they got to do, dude, all they have to do, and this is a big task here, if you're South Carolina, is Spencer Rattler comes in, he plays like he did against Tennessee. Now, obviously, defensively, completely different when you go play the Dogs. But if Rattler can come in and play his best game against Georgia week 3, South Carolina, dude, I mean, I've touched on it. They've historically kind of given Georgia fits. So especially early in the year, to me, we could lose this game if Carson Beck comes out and is flat in that game and the defense doesn't hold up and Rattler starts picking us apart. So it'll be interesting though, man. Like I said, I'm not really worried about anybody else all the way up until we get to Ole Miss and Tennessee, obviously, in that slate of schedules. Right. Just because of the explosiveness on offense. And again, if the defense isn't as good as it has been, and we've touched on this, right? Zion Logue, right? Zero Stackhouse. These are all guys in the middle of Georgia's defense. They're talented guys, and they've been around the program forever, right? They got Michael Williams out on the edge, but who's gonna be that guy that creates interior pressure like Jalen Carter, Devontae Wyatt, Jordan Davis type guys? They're going to be able to push the pocket and force quarterbacks to come out where you can play contain and obviously feast all day. That's my question, for this defense. If, obviously they're going to have to play really well up front. They're really young in a lot of positions, really seasoned at others, but I think they're going to be okay, man. Like I said, I think they'll do enough this year to probably be a 1 or 2 loss team. As far as making it back and three-peating, history's not on our side for that. If it happens, dude, I'll be ecstatic. Right?
And that's where I want to jump in here because, I mean, we obviously have a little bit different takes on Georgia this year. I understand you're a Georgia man. You're born and raised there. We talk about it all the time. And I get it as being that person. I was there once, but I was like 10 years old. I thought Nebraska was going to win 15 national titles in a row. Obviously, we saw how that worked out. But no, I'm with you, man. No, I think Georgia, that's my big question mark, too. We do agree on this part of it. Who's their interior lineman on the defensive side of the ball that's going to create pressure? I mean, there is no Jordan Davis. None of those guys. And not saying these other guys are bad, but your guys' defense has always been so stacked. And I see Crix has dropped in another one. Well, the DB is good. I think they'll be as good this year. Last year was supposed to be a rebuilding year for you guys on defense. Didn't look like it. Didn't look like it to me. You guys look just as good as that 21 defense as we had a huge discussion on last week. And by the way, if you guys haven't checked that out, go ahead. That was a pretty heated debate between the 21 Georgia defense and the 95 Nebraska defense. But I'm with you, Christian. No, I like you're humble about this. I'll give you that. But yeah, to answer your questions, I know there was one in there about what do you all think about Auburn. That's kind of why I tied the previous question into that. I think Auburn's going to be a tough one on the road for you guys. I think it's tough for anybody. I do. Auburn is a tough freaking place to play, regardless of their record. Auburn, I think, me and Christian got, lit up on the internet and almost laughed off the internet about our predictions on Auburn this year from the Auburn man. But I think Auburn's going to be a formidable foe. It's Hugh Freeze's first year there, though, man. And I think it's going to be tough for Auburn this year. I think they got a tough schedule. It's obviously the SEC. I just don't think that I think they're going to struggle to make a bowl game. If they do make a bowl game, that's a win for Auburn personally. That's just me. Christian, I'd like your thoughts real quick on that before we dig into what we're going to dig into here.
You were talking about with Auburn, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, again, I think Auburn will do okay this year. Hugh Freeze, I like him as a coach. I think Peyton Thorne can come over and, obviously, we have a lot of Florida fans, a lot of different fans on the show. I guess the biggest question is, Chris, what to me, I guess I would much rather have Peyton Thorne, obviously, instead of Graham Mertz on my team.
Well, 100%. 100%.
The biggest question to me is going to be, it's a first-year coach. It's a program that felt like last year it was the coach's fault, right? And it's funny enough, I was watching a documentary on Netflix called Swamp Kings. If you haven't seen it, obviously, go check it out. It's about the 05 to, what was that?
08, 07.
9,
Yeah,
I think, 2009 Gators and that run that they had there when they hired Urban Meyer. And Urban talked about it, dude. He said when he showed up from Utah out there at Florida, like his first year, I think they lost, what was it, maybe three games or something like that. He thought he was getting fired.
Yep.
I mean, he literally... That was the standard. Auburn's no different, which brings us to an interesting point that I'm sure we'll talk about down the road, how you have a coach that comes in and how the times have changed now with Billy Napier. And obviously, you know where I'm kind of going with that, and how the standards have kind of changed is a little different for me there. But same thing with Auburn, right? Like Auburn has to be okay with whatever Hugh Freeze does this year. Like if Hugh Freeze comes in and they win 6 or 7 games, that's a damn good season. That's about where we had him pegged at, I believe, you know, when we kind of touched on him a couple months ago. Yeah, dude. I mean, for a first-year coach, and I know everyone's going to say, well, Hugh's coached in this division, or Hugh's coached, you know, at Ole Miss before. He's coached in the SEC. He's beat Bama. Yeah, but this isn't then. He doesn't have Michael Orr playing left tackle for him, right? There's a lot of different things here that you got to kind of keep in mind, right? It's a new team, and it's a new year, right? So I know he's going to do really well. He's doing well on the recruiting trail. He's going to get Auburn, obviously, back to where they want to be. I'm just saying, if you're one of the, you know, it's the same kind of hype that you had for Brian Harsin and Gus Malzahn when you fired him. You got to keep that same passion, you know, when you lose a close game, maybe to Kentucky, or you know, again, you maybe get blown out by Bama. I'm not saying Bama's going to blow them out this year, but you never know in one of these games, right? Like you just have to take this with a grain of salt. Let's see what he can do. Give him probably 2 or 3 years and kind of go from there.
No, I agree. I agree with you. You made a good point there. No, Auburn has the same expectations as every Florida team in the country. You know what I mean? Like Florida, Florida State, all those teams, like they do. Miami, like they expect to win games down there, and I think that's exactly, you know, what the expectation is for Auburn. So, like to answer Nighthawk's question, it's not that I think Auburn's going to be bad, but it's a first year head coach. I know this about being a Nebraska man this year. I don't expect more than 6 wins this year. I truly don't. 7 maybe at best. And that's okay. I just think the fan base is just, you got to be patient. I know it's hard to do for anybody in any walk of life, and no matter whether it's your job or your personal life, your family life, whatever. That's how I feel with Auburn. I don't think Hugh Freeze is a bad coach at all. It's just going to take a couple years. It is, especially in the SEC when we're talking football here, guys. Christian, I'm going to kick it back over to you here. Looks like I think we wrapped up. Did we wrap up most of the questions? Yeah,
you know, again, let's kind of, you know what, let's segue in here to the first thing we wanted to talk about, and that is obviously that Jim Harbaugh, finally, the school is self-imposing a 3-game ban on him. Here, Chris, what are your thoughts on that, man?
I think this was one of these, we just got to do it against 3. Let's be honest, Michigan's first 3 games are PUD. Christian, you could bring up the schedule if you want to. There's you know, nobody there. They got to play. I think this was more like, hey, NCAA, don't look any more into this. We'll do it ourselves, self-impose this kind of thing. I look at this as honestly like it doesn't mean a damn thing to me. I think the whole thing is bullshit to begin with. You guys heard me. I mean, this was over him buying a couple hamburgers for some kids, but kids are getting paid millions of dollars anyway out of high school, not throwing a college pass. So I'll leave it at that, Christian. I just think this is like one of these things where Michigan's like, hey, screw it. We'll take our self-imposed deal. That you see this sometimes. NFL does their own investigations per team. It's no different. College here said, hey, yeah, we feel that we're in the wrong by the playbook. And he was, sure, but not a big deal to me. But Christian, go ahead, and I want to hear your thoughts on this.
I mean, he's going to miss games against Eastern Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green. I mean, so these are all games Michigan should win pretty easily, right? I mean, if they lose one of these games, then forget about it, right? I mean, it's kind of season's probably over maybe at that point. But, you know, again, kind of like you said, I mean, to me, they're trying to appease the NCAA.
Thank you.
You know, because last week, the NCAA, they were negotiating a 4-game ban. for what we call on the show is Burgergate and Jim Harbaugh, right? And they said, hey, we're going to pull that off the table. That's no longer valid. So basically, we're going to revisit it next season. So, we'll see you then. So Harbaugh will be allowed to coach the same way if he was actually suspended by the NCAA. He's going to be allowed to coach the team through the week, but won't be on the sidelines on game day. Chris, you touched on it. I think this whole situation is really stupid, right? It is now the NCAA wants to get involved and make an example out of Jim. There are kids out here making millions of dollars through back-end deals through these universities, but pray to God a coach buys a kid a hamburger, right? He buys a kid a hamburger, but Quinn Ewers can go get a Lamborghini SUV. Yeah. It's so dumb, so stupid. The NCAA, right, they need to put their foot down here, all right? They need to put their foot down and figure out what they want to do, right? Either be consistent with all of college football, or let them do what they want to do, right? Don't play the middle ground here, though. That doesn't serve anybody.
To me, though, the NCAA for the last 10 years has been a joke, man. I'll just come out here and say it. Like, they're a joke. They don't know what the F they're doing. They don't have a clue what's going on as far as when it comes to stipulations and penalties. It's almost like they're throwing a dart at a dartboard most of the time. They seem like they're always, late to the party. They don't know what the hell they're doing here. And this whole thing is just stupid to begin with. And I think this was just Michigan personally saying, hey, we want to keep Jim Harbaugh, even though I personally think Jim Harbaugh is done after this year, regardless of what happens. Yeah. That's just my take. We've talked about this before. But I think that this was like, here, we're going to suspend it. But it's funny. And I know there's no good way to suspend somebody, but you suspend him for 3 games against – no offense against the teams that we just mentioned, Ball State, Eastern Michigan, whoever Christian just rattled off. Yeah. Doesn't matter. Christian, they can have you back there calling plays against some of these teams. And that's not a knock on those teams. Michigan, I have Michigan winning the national title this year. I don't think it matters. This was just Michigan taking control, appeasing the NCAA and saying, hey, we did something on our end. We felt like our internal investigation, this was pushing our limit, and we had to do something. And that's what it looks like to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but I doubt it on this. This is just one of these things. When I read it, I just laughed. I'm like, it don't matter. It doesn't matter. And like I said, I think Jim Harbaugh's out the door regardless. Personally, if you guys didn't know, we talked about this a couple times. Christian, he's been looking for the NFL the last couple of years. The NFL last year told him a big middle finger, and I think he's going to have himself a job. I think Jim Harbaugh's a great coach. I do. I think he's a little bit cheesy. I think a lot of people don't like him because of his attitude, but we know what his brother Jim has done with the Ravens, been there forever.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Jim led the 49ers to a Super Bowl against his brother. Jim Harbaugh's a good coach. I don't care what anybody says. By the way, guys, comment, subscribe, tell me why I'm a effing idiot right now in this chat, or the YouTube channel. Go ahead. Jim Harbaugh, though, as much as you might hate him, the guy wins. I know Ohio State man is going to jump in here and tell me we beat him a couple years in a row. Well, he's owned you guys the last couple of years. And I'll be honest with you, I think he's going to own you guys again this year, no matter what. That team's very, very talented. Jim Harbaugh is a very good coach. I don't care whether you like him or not. Christian, I'll kick it back over to here. We got Whoppergate. I love that by Nighthawk. That's exactly what I like to call. That's pretty funny.
Nighthawk. There we go, son. All right. Yeah, with Chris, with all that being said, though, look, here's the thing, right? Michigan and Harbaugh, you kind of touched on it. They're trying to get out ahead of this whole situation. Yep. Should the NCAA impose a 6+ game next year, right? Which, to me, that's the only reason why the NCAA would pull it, is because he hasn't agreed to it. So, obviously, he's trying to see if they'll cave, maybe go to 3 or 2 games. They said no. They held firm. Season's getting ready to start. They said, screw it. We're pulling that off the table. We'll revisit it next year. From all the stuff I was reading, the NCAA kind of sounded pissed about it. So that means they're probably going to revisit this next year, and it might get worse for them. Here's where this gets interesting, right? Obviously, they say, hey, we'll set out 3 meaningless games this year, assuming he comes back, because here's the thing. He's either got to win the Natty this year, jump for the NFL this year, or something, because this is the year. Here's what's going to happen, right? If he sits out 3 games this year, NCAA comes back, next offseason and says, okay, it would have originally been a 6-game ban, but because of good behavior, we're going to give you a 3-game ban. Check this shit out, dude. I looked ahead at their schedule next year. Michigan plays Texas and Illinois within the first 4 games next year.
Ooh. Okay.
So if Harbaugh is still the coach, they're going to have to figure this shit out very quickly. So this is.
I want to be devil's advocate. Does the chat? This is a good question for chat or somebody watching this on YouTube. Does the schedule change next year though with all these teams coming in? USC, UCLA, Washington. Do they maybe change? Okay. All right.
Yeah. I don't think they do. Like, I know obviously Georgia, Oklahoma, and some of these other schools kind of changed up their schedule just a little bit, just because.
Do that though?
No, the reason why I was going to say that is because Oklahoma's obviously coming into the SEC. Like, I think it would be different because this is technically like the Texas game is a non-con game, so they could do that, right?
But though, Georgia was supposed to play Oklahoma this year, but due to
next year.
Yeah, excuse me. Wasn't I thought it was this
was
year. It was this year. Yes. It was this year, but they got that. That's why everybody keeps calling it a PUD schedule, whoever they're playing the third week of the season. That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to get into this debate with you. It's kind of funny we brought this up on air, but like I was kind of funny. It was funny to me that like I don't know how anybody predicts any schedules from here going out, especially in the Big Ten. It seems like they got 30 freaking teams in here going forward. Does that not change other teams, even though they're non-conference games? Is where I'm getting at, Christian.
Yeah, so basically, so you were right. So it was this year in 31, but because it was a home and home game, right?
Right.
Because they're switching to the conference, they wanted them to not do that.
Okay.
But it's just because they're coming into the same conference. Like, so obviously, I think if Texas was going into the Big Ten, then that would probably maybe change that a little bit. But yeah, I think, Daniel says the schedule will change. I don't think it will. I think the game gets played, obviously, for reasons that we mentioned there. So
okay. No, it's a good point though. I mean, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here. I don't know. Obviously, this college football now is in a state of unknown with all these teams moving around. Stanford, did you hear Stanford? The team is about as far away as you can be on the West Coast is trying to get into the ACC. I mean, does that make any sense for the softball team? Their basketball and volleyball teams are very good in women's. Like, this is getting out of control, in my opinion. This is like stupid anymore. You got to travel 5 hours, 6 hours by plane to play teams on the East Coast. You know what I'm saying, Christian? Like, I'm not trying to get down this road or this debate, but like they got to figure something out here. This is where the NCAA overall something's got to happen here. Personally, just as a fan of more conferences, I don't care much about the Power 3 is what it's going to end up being. Like, I don't just can we keep conferences? Can we shell everybody a bunch of money and just play football?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, Stanford and some of these other teams out there in the Pac-4, they kind of missed the boat on it. I feel like, it's kind of.
But was it their fault though?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
What?
I mean, they had an entire almost 2 years. It's been about a year, I guess, since USC and UCLA started jumping ship. And then you saw what happened with the rest of these teams. I mean, you really can't blame, again, they should have, a lot of these teams, like I can see from the standpoint of where a lot of fans look at it and say, hey, we're gonna stick together, we're gonna make an alliance, right? A lot of these athletic directors and presidents that are running these programs and all that kind of stuff, right? That are saying, hey, we're gonna stick together, we're gonna have an alliance, but then these back end deals were getting made anyways, right? So it really didn't matter. As soon as Colorado jumped, like Stanford and some of these schools, all these schools should have been on the phone.
I agree with you in a certain extent, but I would have a Stanford, which is a predominantly, you got to be incredibly smart. I can never go there. Maybe they believed what the Pac-12 told them, that they were going to get a TV deal done, and they didn't, obviously. And I just feel bad, I guess, for some of those schools, because the Pac-12 now, you know what they're going to be? The fucking Mountain West. That's what they're going to be.
West.
Like, that's what they are, like a souped up Mountain West with Boise State and all those schools. Like, it just, like, I guess as a fan of college football, which is what this channel is about, to me, it just kind of super sucks, because I love the smaller conferences the way that it has been. And maybe I'm old school. I don't know. Maybe I am, but I just, it's all about money now. And this is a topic for another day. I know this was a Michigan and, the whole suspended for 3 games type of thing, but that's a topic for another day, Christian. We could definitely dive into that later. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that. By the way, Daniel, thank you for dropping in, buddy. Tell me why Washington is going to win the national title this year. I know you're a big Washington guy.
Tell us what you guys are going to do at running back. I know you guys got a couple of running backs. I saw that.
Yeah, you got hurt. Yes.
Yeah. So that's tough.
Yeah, it is.
I still think they'll be all right. I mean, they got a couple good backs back here, dude. I mean, it hurts nonetheless, but
yeah, I still think Washington has the best defense in the Pac-12 though this year. I truly do. Christian, go ahead, kick it back over to you here, man. What are we going into here? What we got?
All right, Chris. Navy versus Notre Dame, the preview, right? The game is getting ready to come up here this weekend. We're going to be calling this game, obviously.
Live.
So this is the 96th meeting of these two teams, right? And it's in Ireland, Aviva Stadium, right? Notre Dame's going to look to Sam Hartman and second-year coach Marcus Freeman to take the Fighting Irish to new levels. I think a lot of Notre Dame fans have kind of felt that they were a quarterback away from success, right? And also a lot of fans with the loss of Tommy Rees, and we kind of touched on him, Sam Hartman there, they feel this is their year, dude. I mean, and I can kind of see why some of this hype is getting built up over there in South Bend.
Yeah, here's the thing. Notre Dame leads that series though, like 81-13-1 or some crazy 90% winning percentage over Navy. But it's cool. It's a historic thing. It's been around for forever. I think. I've been on air and said this about Notre Dame this year. I think I've even maybe got you on board a little bit, Christian, about the Notre Dame hype, man. Nobody talks about them. Even the Notre Dame, man, which is kind of crazy. I mean, Notre Dame is a very popular team. There's a lot of Nebraska people here that are Notre Dame fans. Trust me. Take my word for it. I think Notre Dame this year with Sam Hartman coming over, ACC's all-time leading touchdown passer. He seems like he's been Christian, been around for like 20 years. Coming over this year, they have to be better on offense. They've always been able to run the ball. They put out great tight ends, good running backs, offensive linemen. Their defense has always been, top 30 every freaking year. Since I can remember, they should be really good. Sam Hartman can throw the football. I mean, the kid's been around the game, like I said, forever. I don't see how Notre Dame even, honestly, personally, that this game's even close. And I'm going to talk about Navy here, Christian. I'll let you extrapolate on them real quick. But Brian Newberry, they got rid of their old head coach. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he's been there forever. Newberry was their defensive coordinator. Yeah. Navy played these guys within a couple points last year. It was a tough game at the end of the year.
Yeah,
but Freeman for Notre Dame this is his second year. I mean, there's a lot of different changing of the guard, if you will, with these two teams this year. Just new faces. I don't understand, though, how this game in Notre Dame with Hartman, even if he doesn't play great, that he's not an upgrade at quarterback from what they've had with Tyler Buckner, all the bullshit they had there the last couple of years. They haven't had a good quarterback since, I would say, honestly, Ian Book was good.
Yeah.
Hell, I would even go back before him, and I cannot think of his name. It just dropped me off.
Deshaun Kaiser or Brady Quinn. Yeah.
Brady Quinn, the guy that looked like he was on steroids back there. It's been a while for Notre Dame. But Sam Hartman is that good. I think he is that good of a quarterback. I think he's going to help him out tremendously. Throwing the ball, stretching the field. I think he'll be fine there. So I don't know how this game ultimately ends up playing. It's interesting for both teams. Like I said, Christian, I'm going to kick it back to you real quick. Freeman's on his second year. They struggled out of the gate last year. Notre Dame did they played, they lost to Marshall. They played Ohio State pretty close. I think that score was like 21-10, which was kind of cool. And I think we'll dig into that a little bit here coming up. But Navy's been running option football since I was a kid, and I think they always will. How does Newberry? I think he's going to have to throw the ball a little bit more. I think they're going to have, with the new rules, there's no chop blocking at all this year, Christian. That was something I wanted to touch on too. Navy's one of those teams that's always run option football, Army, Air Force, the military academies, those type of things. How does this, square up for you as far as overall? And I want you to dig a little bit into the stats here too, because I know you're going into that.
Yeah. So, I'm going to make it really simple, Chris. I think this is going to be a closer game than a lot of people probably on the outside looking into it for a couple reasons, right? Look, you touched on one of the rule changes, which is no chop blocks, but they also integrated the new rule, as far as the clock not stopping after first downs, right? So Navy they're gonna come in. They're still gonna run that triple option offense as a running team. It's gonna benefit a team like Navy though, because they're gonna be able to kind of run the clock down. They're gonna be able to, the best defense is just keeping the ball out of an elite offense's hands sometimes, right?
Oh,
so this is gonna help Navy out. They're still going to run the triple option, right? They're going to try to take advantage of running that clock down. Here's the thing, right? The midshipmen bring in former Kennesaw State offensive coordinator Grant Chestnut. It's okay if you don't know who that is. They ran the triple option over at Kennesaw State down in Georgia. Here's the thing about Grant Chestnut. He's going to add some more passing-centric plays in there. It's going to be a little different style of offense. He's going to put his own little flair in it. They're going to try to expand it a little bit. Still do what they always do with the option, but they're going to look to try to throw it a little bit more. Like you touched on, Chris, Brian Newberry, he was their defensive coordinator last year, and I think he's going to get them back to winning. I don't know necessarily that's going to result in them winning this game, but last year's game, we bring that up.
Super close.
35-32. At one point, by the way, did you know this? Notre Dame led 35-13. So,
say that
at one point of that game, Notre Dame led 35-13.
Wow, I did not know that. And I follow a lot of college football. Wow.
So this brings me to a couple of big parts. The biggest, and I've got this written down here, Chris, the biggest question mark to me is, you touched on it, Marcus Freeman going into his second year. There was a couple times last year where we can look at the Marshall game and some of these, in this game as an example too, where it was a very interesting year for him, right? He obviously lost to Marshall. I mean, this is a weird game in Ireland. It's week 1. This is going to be, to me, this is going to be the prove it game for Marcus Freeman, right? This is going to be the game that sets the tone. Okay, I get last year, I think they started the season off against Ohio State. Tough way to kind of start the year off, right?
They played them close though. Super close.
They did. It was a good game. It was a close game, but this game is, and you know all about that, right? I mean, your team played in Ireland last year against a team that a lot of people were saying, there's no way they'll beat us.
Won one game after the rest of
one after that, but they won the one game that you probably would want to win, I guess, as a Northwestern fan. So my main point is,
Thanks, Chris.
I'm not trying to bring up old feelings here, man. I'm just saying, right? I think that kind of brings us into a little bit of the final predictions for this game. Chris, what are your final score on the game?
My thoughts on this, Christian, you bring up a lot of good points, though. You said it best with Freeman, right? I think I like the guy a lot. He's a player's coach. If you haven't watched him, dude, he's kind of weird watching Notre Dame with a coach that isn't Lou Holtz or Brian Kelly, who don't get very fired up on the sideline. Watch Freeman, dude. He's jumping up and down. Like, I love the guy a lot. It's kind of odd watching Notre Dame as I have over the years or whatever. He's a player's coach. I love that. But this is his second year. We obviously know that we got Newberry coming in, but he was a defensive coordinator. I think Navy is going to have to change up their offense. I think you're going to see him throw the ball more this year. But me and you, Chris, are going to have some different takes here, I think, honestly, from what I've seen so far. And guys, by the way, we do not consult this before the show starts.
Nope.
I have this game going 38-13 in Notre Dame's favor. And I don't think that Navy is going to be able to move the ball with the new offense, a new quarterback, and a majority of the offensive line is going to be able to move the ball week 1 against the Notre Dame defense. Notre Dame's defense has always been solid. I don't see anything changing there. They returned 11 starters from last year overall. I don't see that changing. They finished 9-4 last year. Notre Dame did. They got a huge upgrade on offense with Sam Hartman. I think this game is close at halftime, but I think Notre Dame pulls away quite a bit in the second half, where this score looks probably worse than it probably actually was. That's just my predictions, though. I think the spread, Christian, is like 20.5, right at 21 currently. I think I hit the over or hit the spread here, but I do. I think it's a very close game. First half takes a little bit of time for both teams to fill each other out, but I just think Notre Dame's defense is just far superior to Navy's, and I think their offense with Sam Hartman is just going to be better. That's my take. I want to hear yours on this.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's going to be a close game. I think the running clock's going to kind of affect it. I don't know if, even though I think that Notre Dame's offense will be a lot better this year with the loss of, Buckner and Tommy Reese.
Yes.
I think bringing in Sam Hartman, kind of freshening up the play calling a little bit, I think it'll kind of be it'll be a little more refreshing for them. But I got them 31 Notre Dame, Navy 24. Like I said, I know a lot of Notre Dame fans are going to be pissed off that it's even that close. Again, if this is kind of what we think it's going to be with Navy and they can kind of play decent defense, right, and kind of, like Chris said, run the ball down their throat and just be able to convert on some of the passing when they need to, they got a chance, dude. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to win, but they got a chance to make it interesting.
I think they could keep it close. Thing with Navy, they're going to want to control the clock. You know what I mean? Keep Notre Dame's offense off the field. Can that happen? And I think it starts in the first quarter. If Notre Dame gets the ball, goes down and just torches them right away, Navy, when they get behind, it's very hard for them to try to keep up. That's the thing. But if, for example, Notre Dame does get the ball, this is just hypothetically speaking here, I'm not saying that's how it's going to play out, but if they do, they stop them, get the ball, score, and chew up a bunch of clock. This is one of these kind of weird football games, like NFL wise. You know what I mean? You see it in the NFL in the playoffs. Teams that predominantly run the ball, they want to chew up as much clock as they can. Navy's, like I said, I think they're going to throw the ball more than they have in the past. But this is very interesting because it is week one, and everybody looks like shit in week one most of the time. Most teams do. This is a very that's why, it's kind of funny. This game last year was played late in the season, and it was that close. And Notre Dame looked really, really good at the end of the year up until this game. So that's why we're doing this game, guys, by the way, live. And if you guys want to tune in, we're going to be talking some football. We'll take questions and stuff, but we're going to be doing this game live. We're both of us are very interested, even though this is not the biggest marquee matchup that we're going to do the entire year, but this is week 0, as they call it, Christian. And I think it's going to be closer than people probably think, especially the first half.
I could absolutely see it, Chris. I want to kind of jump into a comment real quick here from Daniel before we get going much further. It says, if Notre Dame isn't up by 21 midway through second quarter, Navy will pull it out in the end. Exactly right. Navy's one of those teams you don't fuck around with them. You put them away, and you put them away early, right? If you leave them in the game, man, bad shit happens, right?
Yeah, I could see that, man. 21's a lot of points, though. Damn. I mean, that's like, is Navy's offense to me going to be able to score 21 points in the second half without chewing up the entire clock? I just need to see it before I believe it with Navy. You know what I mean? Like they've ran that option style, triple option, I formation, wishbone, whatever you want to call it, forever. It's like, are they going to be able to play action pass against Notre Dame's defense? I don't know, man. God, Notre Dame's put out some studs in the NFL on defense, so I don't think anything changes there personally. But I like your take, though. Love it.
Yeah, I like it too, man. That's why we keep you around, old Daniel.
Yeah,
good takes
Daniel.
like that.
I can't believe I dropped a Washington comment here. I know he wants to.
All right, Chris. Hot take.
Woo!
Colorado.
What?
Your favorite team goes winless.
No! Hell no. Guys, I am willing to risk my mortgage. No, I'm not on that Colorado goes winless this year. But I am so sick of the Colorado man, which I don't even think it's necessarily Colorado fans, actually fans of the team. I think it's these Deion Sanders simps that have been walking around telling me that they're 10-2, 11-1. Christian's got the schedule pulled up. I mean, really, I don't even know what to say to this. Does Colorado go winless? It could happen. Colorado had one win, Christian. One win last year, Christian. It was against Colorado State, field goal. They stormed the field against Colorado State, which is embarrassing in itself to even talk about. Christian pounds that soft Corona over there. I don't know what the hell these Colorado people are looking at this year. I'm not saying for the 100th time that Deion is a bad coach. I'm not saying Shedeur Sanders can't play quarterback. I'm not saying Travis Hunter is not a stud. But my God, this schedule is brutal. They did them no favors in their last year in the Pac-12. They're going over to the Big 12 next year. I'm sure you guys know that. They have a better chance of going winless than they do winning 5 games this year. Mark it down, Christian. I just pissed off the whole half the Pac-12 conference and everybody down there in Atlanta, Georgia that was simping over Deion. I'm a huge Deion fan. I loved him growing up, bro. I'm going to kick it over to you here because I don't know what else to say. I can't believe people out there are trying to tell me still to this day that they're going 10-2 and 11-1, and people are actually betting them to win the national title this year. It's crazy shit.
I don't like, so from a hot take standpoint, we're saying Colorado, like the hot take, and we're not saying this, right? The hot take is obviously that Colorado could go winless this year. I think that is a hot take, man. It's pretty bold, dude.
Oh, 100%.
Like just that they go winless, right? I got them pegged as more of a 3 or 4 win team this year. Not saying that long term they're not going to be good, but dude, here's the real thing here. Everybody's got to look at. Every week, something seems to come out of Boulder, Colorado. Some news story, something that gets magnified that should be nothing anywhere else in America comes out of Colorado because of Deion Sanders, right? And who he is. So, the last couple weeks alone, I mean, there was the whole practice fighting situation. He wanted them to fight each other in practice. Hey, is what it is. Right, he teed off on a local beat reporter who asked about his quarterback position, his backup quarterback position, because he said, "Hey, your quarterback position's set." Deion said, "Ain't nothing set yet," even though he already told us it was. So is what it is, whatever. Right? You touched on it, Chris. This team was 1-11 last year. However, none of those players, as a lot of Colorado fans / Deion fans like to remind us, none of those players from that 1-11 team are on this roster right now. Not a whole lot of them. Like, there might be 1 or 2 still floating around, but they're not many. Here's the thing, dude. I look at Colorado from the standpoint they're really talented at skill positions on both sides of the ball, and they got some depth at those skill positions. My biggest question mark: how's both lines of scrimmage going to hold up?
Exactly. Where the fuck is football won and lost at, Christian?
Right there, right in there, right at the lines of scrimmage, Chris. You said it exactly right. Here's the thing. I know, and like we touched on it, right? A lot of Colorado fans / Deion Sanders fans here, right? They're going to be quick to point out, hey, listen, dude, we're vastly improved, right? Like we said, they're monsters. But again, these are the same fans, same people on the internet that are also talking about the fact that you lost a bunch of players from a 1-11 team, so therefore you're going to be better this year. But most of the players that you bring in were on losing teams or teams that weren't even at the Power 5 level last year.
Thank you.
Let me say that again. They were on losing teams or teams that weren't at the Power 5 level last year.
And backups on those teams. Some of them are. And I'm jumping in here.
Yeah.
Like, this just pisses me off because it's not – Chris, do you not like Colorado? Yeah, no, I definitely don't. That goes back a lot of years. But do I hate Deion Sanders? No, I don't think that. I actually don't think Deion Sanders is a bad coach.
Yeah.
But you people that are coming out here telling us live on air on the YouTube channel, we've got some hate emails about, we're racist. We don't know what the hell we're talking about because we didn't say your team was going to win 7, 8, 9, 10 games, Christian. Is ridiculous. No, that's not the case at all. Deion Sanders may be a good coach, but what you guys do when you say that he's going to win these amount of games, and I'm saying 7, 8, 9, 10 games, you're making it worse for yourself at the end of the year and Deion Sanders because you have these crazy expectations on him. I could say the same thing about Matt Rule here. I talked to the Nebraska man. 10-2 this year, 9-3. Well, then when he doesn't win those games and he wins 5 or 6, you're the same guy saying, fire him, he's terrible. That's what I'm actually standing up for the Colorado fan here, the fan, and saying, no, give Deion some time. This schedule, Christian, we're going to break it down here real shortly, again, is brutal. It's brutal, man. Just give the guy some time. He just turned over the entire roster, not the starting 22, the entire, literally 80 goddamn kids on this team. And this schedule is not, if you drop Colorado in I'll say it again, Big Ten West, it's a little bit different story. I give them some credence and give them some hope here, but not that I think the Pac-12 is brutal, but this year it is brutal. The Pac-12's got a lot of schools on the rise. Now that all, goes to shit next year, but my God, man, I actually think there's a chance that they can go 0-12 this year.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, here's the thing too, right? It's I look at it from the standpoint, like think about the NFL, for example, right? Because that's basically what they did. They went out and just pretty much put a team together via free agency. Even in the NFL, where guys are professionals, okay, you go look at what of recent memory here, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tom Brady, Gronk, they bring in all these players, right? They get all these players. Here's the thing, Chris. They lost some games. Okay, they lost to the Saints twice, if I'm not mistaken, that year, and then beat them in the playoffs. They came back and won the Super Bowl. But Chris, this is college football. This isn't the NFL. You don't get to slack off and win 8-9 games. You know what I mean, and lose 10 games and turn around and basically limp your way through the playoffs. Yeah. That's not how it works. You can go out and you can get all these guys, but you got to get them on campus. You've got to get them playing together. You've got to make sure they're conditioned. You got to make sure that you are putting them through the paces, right? At this level, and we're not trying to hate, but we're just saying it's not been done before. We're entering into new territory here. I don't see how, even with the roster they have, they win more than 3 or 4 games this year. I just don't see it.
No, and it's not. God, man. If they win 2, Christian, they doubled their win record from last year. I'll be honest with you guys. Please, somebody, the Colorado man, please point out where you guys think some of these wins are just automatic, chalk it up a W. Colorado State is not one of them. They played you within a field goal last year, a walk-off field goal, if you will. But maybe Stanford, to me, is probably the easiest team on the schedule because Stanford's going through a lot of shit. Maybe. I'm not trying to, even though I personally don't like Colorado, I'm trying to put this aside and saying, looking at the schedule and what they have coming to the table, just because you have 2 or 3 5-stars and you got like a bazillion 2-stars, and I don't even look at the stars that much. Look at the schedule. Oregon, TCU are off the rip. A Nebraska team definitely that had. You're Christian. We're going right through the schedule here. Let's bring it up.
Yeah, it's
TCU,
up.
Yeah, TCU, you're 21-point dogs. Not that Vegas is the end-all, be-all, but Vegas is usually right. You're not winning that game. You're not, especially at TCU. Chalk that up as an L. Nebraska's got, you're going to tell me, Matt Rule, first-year head coach, first-year quarterback at, Nebraska, Jeff Sims. Yeah, whatever. Nebraska has more to work with than Colorado does. I think that game is close, but I think Nebraska comes out with a W, and that's not me being biased. Colorado State, I don't know. I really don't know. I'll give you benefit of the doubt, maybe with 1 win there. Oh, here we go, though, Christian. Oregon, USC. You're not winning either of those 2 games. You guys get blown out the freaking window with those 2. Arizona State, I don't know. I really don't know. Arizona State's one of those teams that I'm not high on, but there's a lot of unknowns there too, but it is at Arizona State. Cool. There's your Stanford at home. That's a game I think you guys should win if you want to prove me wrong in this Colorado goes winless thing. Oh, UCLA, hell no. Definitely not beating them. And Chip Kelly and his offense and that goddamn freshman they got starting at quarterback this year. At this time, he should be up to speed. Oregon State, hell no. Arizona, I don't think so either. Washington State, at Washington State is a tough place to play. Don't think it's happening either. And you sure as shit ain't beating Utah at Utah. Christian, I rattled off maybe 2 wins to 3. And that is maybe. That's where I'm at. I'm going to kick it over to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll kind of say this. We'll end it here and we'll move on. But I'm going to say this. I'm looking at the schedule right now, Chris. I'll play a little nicer to some of the Colorado fans. I really don't give a shit. But this is just my honest opinion. That is teams that I think Colorado could legitimately beat: Colorado State, Arizona State, Stanford, Arizona, and Washington State.
Okay.
So let's see: Colorado State, Arizona State, Stanford, Arizona, and Washington State. So that's 5. Of those 5 teams, right? So again, even by that logic, so you maybe win 5 games, right? I still think one of those teams we just mentioned is surprisingly good this year and clips them.
So you got 4 at best.
Yeah, 4 at best. So like I said, 4, maybe in a magical run 5. But that's going to be such a difference there, dude. I mean, it's going to be night and day different there for Colorado.
Well, I'll wrap this up real quickly. Vegas has got you guys who is usually pretty goddamn close within a win or 2 above or below. It's got them at 3. So, yeah, Colorado going winless. It's hard to bet, but man, 2 wins, I wouldn't be surprised, Christian.
No, 2 wins. I definitely wouldn't be surprised either, Chris. I mean, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Hold on just a second right here for us here, son. Let's go ahead and do this. 1 minute here. Chris, real quick, anything else you want to talk about here? We're approaching the hour mark here. It's 8 o'clock.
Woo! Central time, boys. Central time. Christian
Central
and I
time.
have actual real jobs, by the way. This is not a real job. I know that's hard to believe, but we do have real jobs.
Yeah.
Now, I ain't seen anything else in the chat. Daniel, I can't believe the old Pac-12 man is not telling me how Colorado's going to go this year. I'm a little disappointed in him. Usually he's on spot with the Pac-12 games and what he thinks of the Pac-12, because I know I haven't brought up Washington yet. It's all good, Daniel. By the way, it's all love, man. Just giving you some shit.
It's all love around here, son. All right, let's go ahead and do this. We're going to go ahead and jump off and take just a quick 5-minute break. We'll be back here in about 5 minutes, so just get ready.
Hang tight, boys. We got some good topics coming up. Don't worry.
One second here. We're going to get you guys with just a second.
All right, guys, back here after a short break. Let's take a quick look at chat here, Christian.
We'll scroll back up here, dude.
Let's go. Go ahead. What are you seeing there? You seeing something?
I see something a little interesting here, dude. We got a Nighthawk coming in saying Matt Rule.
Oh, here we go.
More worried about media, not Minnesota. I will say this, right? I have seen Matt Rule on a bunch of. He's making the circuits right now, right? I'm not agreeing with Nighthawk here, right? Because I will say Mike comes back later on and says, hey, I would disagree on Rule being more worried about media. He said many times focuses on 831. Obviously, that's when they play Minnesota. So, Chris, what do you think as the resident Nebraska fan of the show?
I guess I'm not too worried either. I agree with not Nighthawk, but Mike here a little bit. I don't think that Rule is more focused on that. I think it's more just like new coach. He's going to get a lot of love, man. He's out in public a lot. I mean, I think he's going to take any attention that he can get. And I don't mean that like he's an attention whore or anything. I think he's just promoting the team. I mean, we haven't seen Scott Frost do anything like this. Like Scott Frost, you couldn't find the guy. There APB out on that guy all the time. I think, Rule's just out here just talking. He likes to talk football. I watch a lot of his stuff on a lot of channels. I think that, and that's a good thing. Like I said, you guys, by the way, you guys got to sit back and look and listen to this guy talk. He said when he walked in here, give me 2 years. That's what he said. So, Nebraska, man, you're going to have to calm down this year, regardless of what we think they're going to do this year. And I have my own predictions. I'm sure you guys all do too. At least Rule's out there talking. He's not afraid of the microphone. He's not hiding. He's going to go out here and say some stuff. Christian, what do you got here?
Well, man, I'll say this, right? It's a bold strategy. What's that move? What's that movie, Dodgeball? It's a bold strategy there, Cotton.
Yeah.
I mean, because if they lose that game, right, I can tell you right now, we're gonna absolutely probably tee up a little bit here.
Yeah, I might
right?
too. I might, depending on the score. Yes.
If they tee up, I might get a little, like you said, depending on the score, right? But I actually make the point just a little further here, Chris. I don't care what the score is, right? Because we know. Flashback to the greatest 3-9 team ever here, right?
Whoa. I wasn't the one that said that.
I know you weren't the one that said it, but still, somebody said it, right? Somebody still said it. So I look at it from the standpoint, you come in, you take care of business, you do what you do, right? The media, cool, that's great. You're putting and I kind of actually, now that I think about this more, I like it because you know what he's doing by getting on all these shows, dude? He's getting Nebraska relevant again. He's going out there, he's putting his foot out there, and he's kind of building the brand up, just like we want to do on this show, right? I mean, I guess the more I think about it, I don't really hate it that much. But I only don't hate it if you win. I mean, doing a lot of media circuits like this close to the season.
Well, what do you think of Deion Sanders then?
Well, we've already just talked about that, dude. I think that guy's a 3 or 4 win coach. I mean, if Rule comes out here and he wins 3 or 4 games, I mean, that's going to be pretty flat on a lot of fans, dude.
Well, I would agree, but you can't come on this show as a host and you're, this is the thing I have with you, man. I got a problem with this. I'm going to be the first one to address it. You walk around with that Pringles can in your pants, which they call 2 national titles, and you come on here. I know how you're sitting back tonight, Christian. I learned tonight that you're kind of even sitting back more and more each week to show off that banner in the background and Georgia Bulldogs. And I get it, man. I'd be swinging it around too, doing a helicopter on a daily. I get it. But you can't knock Matt Rule for coming out and talking in public about the Huskers. He hasn't said anything. I don't think if you listen to what he says, he's not saying that, we're going a certain amount of wins or a certain amount of losses. He's not saying that. If Minnesota beats us by 3 and it's a close game and it's a hard fought game, I'm not going to go ham on Nebraska on that one. I'm not. I know you just said you would, but to me, it's more after that. It's the Colorado game, which I think we definitely have a better roster than they do. It's the we got Louisiana Tech, we got Northern Illinois, and then we jump into obviously the Big Ten then after that. But I don't have a problem with what he's doing to answer the question. I don't think he's more worried about the media. I think he's just on there because I think a lot of people have a lot of questions about Nebraska because it's an intriguing topic. He's a new head coach here. He's had a lot of success at the college programs that he has been at. I'll put my foot in the ground there. You know, you're a little bit from a different realm. You know, you're on here, you're flaunting Georgia, and like I said, week in, week in, and week out, you keep scooting that chair just a little bit back. Just a little bit back. I mean, hell, I also start sitting here. You see that over there? I mean, that's where you're at right now.
Chris, you know why I got a ski mask on that guy right there, a red ski mask.
I don't know.
Underneath that little Georgia hard hat.
Yeah, you're robbing Walmart.
No, it's because when the Ohio State man comes on here, he needs to know who stole that game from him, son, because that's what we did. We did, by God.
Yeah, you guys.
No, Chris, I think in all actuality here, I mean, I just know what a lot of people. I just know, obviously, you can downplay it, and you're a good fan. You look at things realistically, right? Yeah. You're not going to get too high and too low, right? I think part of the thing is some of the fans, they look at this, and that's what makes college football such a great thing, right? Is because every game means something. It's Matt Rule's first game, right, against what should be a tough Minnesota team, but a very winnable game for him, right? It should be a winnable game for Nebraska. I know a lot of fans are going to hype this up. I talked to them. Oh my God, did you see the facilities? They did an hour-long preview of the facilities, and Matt's going to be just fine. This is, like I said, I know we talk about it. I'm pretty high on them, so I kind of hope they come out and they take care of business, right? Jeff Sims played for Jeff Collins, by the way, out there at Georgia Tech, and they were doing all kinds of crazy shit there. So I don't care what you do as long as you win the game, right?
Yeah. No, I just think that we're 7.5 point dogs right now currently. I know Minnesota's got a lot of issues. We haven't talked about this. PJ Fleck, dude, I think a lot of people think he's a clown over there right now. A lot of talk within the team talking about how they really don't like this guy. So there's a lot of things going on here in this game. We got another about 7 days before this thing kicks off. But it's just very interesting to see how this game plays out. I think if Nebraska plays them close, personally, I've changed my mind the last couple of weeks. I think we can steal a W out of there. I feel much more confident if we were playing at home, I guess. But going on the road with the first-year quarterback to ever play for us, and Jeff Sims has got plenty of experience. I'm not worried about that, which helps us out. But Matt Rule hasn't been coaching college football for a couple of years either, so it's going to be tough, Christian, to answer that. We'll move on to Mike. He's got a question here. Go ahead, Christian.
Yeah, he just said, here's the thing. Minnesota has everything to lose here. They're supposed to beat us. If they win, everyone will say, oh, I told you so. They lose to everyone. We'll be saying, oh, Nebraska got lucky. Again, let us know in the comments what you think about some of these week one matchups here. Regardless of whether you're a Nebraska fan or not, tell us, is this first game here for Matt Rule in the Matt Rule era? Is it everything? Does this set the tone, obviously, for what we're going to see? Does it matter, right? I know for me, if Kirby Smart got fired tomorrow and they brought in somebody else, Mike Bobo became the coach, or whoever you want to install in there became the coach, is the first game, does it mean something, right? If Georgia played Auburn, I guess, week one this year, with all the things we know, and the circumstances were a little different, would it be everything in this? And I think it would, right? I know we've talked on it, and one of the things that, we talked on this earlier in the show here, Chris. I was watching that documentary, Swamp Kings. I'll kind of say it again. And Urban Meyer talked about it, dude. He said, at Florida, my first year, I lost 3 games, and I thought they were going to fire me.
Yeah. As they should, though. That's the expectations. That was the expectation for Nebraska for a lot of years. It's funny how over time they have to do that, though. We've had the expectation now of just making a bowl game, right? Yeah. But that's Florida. Look at Florida right now. Fuck, if they make a goddamn bowl game this year, that's a crazy good thing for them in the SEC. Let's be honest. Let's throw it out there. Not to piss off the Florida man, but let's be honest. No, and that's where college football is at in certain fan bases, Nebraska being one of those. I don't think Matt Rule's end all be all the first year taking a team, and people, I don't think in the Nebraska, man, I want to scream at them. I don't think most Nebraska fans understand how bad we've really been the last 4 years as a program. And if we lose this game against Minnesota, I do not want to hear. I will come out. I'll give me your address. I'll show up at your doorstep type of thing that you're telling me Matt Rule's going to, give, oh, he's a terrible coach. I've seen it before, even after this season. I don't want to hear Matt Rule should be fired. But there are people out there that do this, and I'm not talking about everybody in Nebraska. I'm talking about a certain select few of people, because I've seen this with Scott Frost. I saw it with Mike Riley. I saw it with Bo Pelini. It just makes me sad. Like, college football, it's hard to win. We all know that. Give this guy some time. He said 2 years. That's what he said. Give me 2 years, and let's see where we're at. So whatever happens this year in Nebraska, man, we talk about Nebraska enough on this channel. Just even if we win 4 games this year, as much as that would suck, let's give the guys some time. And I don't think we're winning 4 games this year. I think we're pushing a bowl game this year personally. But this Minnesota game is important. Very important.
There we go. I mean, dude, you're exactly right. This brings me to another segment here with Nighthawk, who says we'll kind of answer some more questions here. Can Nick Saban and Bama win with getting back to murder ball? Chris, you know what murder ball is, right?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Yes, but not at the level that he's talking about back in the 2009 through 15 era, or I should say 2000.
Yeah, 2009.
Yeah, right in that mid range. No, you're gonna have to move the ball through the air a little bit more than that. The SEC has evolved, Christian. You know this. You're a Georgia man.
Yeah, thanks in large part to Nick Saban too, by the way.
Yeah, no, 100%. My thoughts on Nick Saban.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna have to do more than that, Nighthawk. They're gonna have to. I mean, I'm not saying. You know what's funny about Nick Saban, Christian? We got some time here. He did something I thought he could never do. His ego. Scott Frost couldn't do it. A lot of coaches can't do it. Where they have to change their play calling, even though it's not what they want to do or what they're used to what works. And he did it. He used to pound the football with Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, all those guys. He had a mediocre at best quarterback and win national titles. Then all of a sudden, and their defense was look at 2009's defense of Alabama is insane.
Hmm?
Then all of a sudden it became wide receiver U over there. Tua, Jalen Hurts running the ball, throwing the ball. Tua, Mac Jones, all these guys slinging the ball, spread offense. But now I don't know if it's because he doesn't have a fucking quarterback, and which I think is probably part of the problem. It sounds like Jalen Milroe was going to be the starter, who I don't think the kid can throw the football. I just don't. I think he's a crazy good athlete. But besides the point, I think they're going to have to get back to running the football, establishing an offensive line and run blocking like what they used to do. So this question is almost 100% right. But they're going to have to be able to throw the ball at times. The SEC, you just cannot pound the football. Brett Bielema tried that at Arkansas when he went there. Didn't work. They couldn't throw the ball. They could run the ball, but when you get behind the sticks, then what are you going to do? So, Christian, I want to hear your thoughts on this to answer his question here, because it's a very good question. It's a very relevant question. I've heard this topic brought up, especially the last, I would say, month now. That's kind of what they want to do, but they're going to have to do more than that, though.
Well, it's, to me, this is about as asinine, I think, as a take as the Auburn man saying they're going to win 10 games this year. This is about as asinine as a take as the Florida man saying they're going to win 8 games this year. I mean, insert whatever, right? I mean, here's the thing. The reason why I hear everybody saying they're going to win is because of 2 things. They're going to get back to playing murder ball, and we've got Nick Saban. Those are 2 great points, but it's not 2012 anymore. No. Right, the game has evolved, right? I mean, when LSU came in there, when Alabama started dominating, they actually got some quarterbacks and everything like that. Changed the game. Then when LSU came in and started absolutely stuffing them.
You mean Joe Burrow?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
What about Clemson? I mean,
Ooh,
I know that's ACC,
Trevor Lawrence, Trevor
oh,
Etienne.
What about Deshaun Watson?
That was Sean Watson, absolutely, dude. Game started changing, dude. You think about this, right? I mean, seriously, think about this. If they didn't have Bryce Young last year, how many games would Alabama have lost? Legitimately. Because that offense, Daniel says it best here, dude. They probably, like you said, they probably would have lost 3, 4, 5 games last year.
5. I don't think Bryce Young was the best thing that ever happened to Bama last year.
Yeah.
Because if they were playing, we saw what Jalen Milroe was doing last year when he came in, when Young was hurt.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude. And that's why I want to tell the Bama man.
I guess.
What the hell are you looking at?
I guess if you're a Bama fan watching this, seriously, I mean, seriously, what position have you gotten better at this year? What position do you say, hey, we lost Henry To'oTo'o, Will Anderson, most of our secondary, our offensive line wasn't that great last year. Yeah, with running back, Jahmyr Gibbs, right? They lose out on Jahmyr Gibbs. Some of their wide receivers transferred out. They lost Bryce Young.
They're not better anywhere.
They're not better anywhere. And you're going to come in there and try to play murder ball against Texas? Dude, they are going to light you up. Whatever. I'm serious. If you've got a mortgage, bet it. I don't know, this isn't betting advice, by the way. This isn't betting advice. But if it was, I would tell you, bet your mortgage, bet everything you own on Texas in that Bama game because they're going to absolutely destroy them. I don't care where it's played at. They could play it in a back alley somewhere on a middle school football field.
Oh, I love it.
Texas is going to beat them.
I don't normally agree with you all the time on certain teams, but I have Texas this year. Week 3? I don't see it happening, dude. I don't. I mean, I just saw today. It looks like Milroe's going to be the starter, which I don't see how it's not him. Even though everybody's going to tell me, oh, well, they brought Tommy Reese in and Buckner from Notre Dame, a couple castaways. Doesn't matter. Milroe played every snap when Bryce Young got hurt last year. It'd be hard for me to think that Nick Saban's going to roll with anybody different than that. Yes, Milroe looks like he can bench press a car, but it doesn't mean you can throw a football. And we saw it in the spring game. I'm not saying the kid can't run the ball. So if that's Nighthawk's definition of murder ball, well, that's great. But what are you going to do when it's 3rd and 7? Because he can't throw the football, let alone, Christian, we didn't talk about this enough. Now he got me fired up here. And that's a bad thing for people on YouTube because I'm going to yell at my mic. They don't have a guy that can catch a football. Where's the Julio Jones? Where's the Calvin Ridley? Where's John Mechie? Where Jared Judy? Where are
Jamison Williamson, Devontae Smith?
Where
are they?
Where did they go? They led the nation in drop passes last year. Look up that stat. No shit. Look it up.
I'm gonna give Alabama the milk carton trophy of the year, dude, because they're all missing. Dude, all their expectations are going to be missing at the end of the year, dude.
God damn it, man. I hope you clip this out. Now I'm just speaking off the cuff, man. I do. I mean, fuck, dude. These Bama people been roaching us all year. Every time I drop something in the channel, it's like the Bama man comes on here. Oh, we're going back to murder ball. Oh, so that automatically thinks that you're in the playoff? You guys couldn't backdoor your way into the playoffs last year with 2 losses. Nick Saban's drooling on the fucking TV thinking that he's getting in against a team that he lost to in Tennessee and another team he lost to in LSU. What the hell are we doing, man? I'm sorry, man. I could go down. Bama people got to get their head together, man. They have like what I call like comment autism on the internet anymore. I don't know what else to call it.
Jesus Christ, dude. They're like ostriches, man. They just stick their head in the ground, and then, I mean, if they win, great. They poke their head up and they start fucking with you, and if they lose, they just keep their head buried, dude. You don't hear from them.
No, I know, man. It's weird.
They're like my dad, dude. They go to the store 18 years ago, and then I still haven't seen them, right?
Right.
I mean, come on now, son. It's just, Chris, I want to say this. I kind of want to segue here, then we'll kind of jump back into our last hot take. And yeah, guys, be sure to comment down in the comment section here as we're getting ready to wrap the show up here in the next hour or so. What are your thoughts on this college football season? What do you guys want to talk about? What are you guys obviously interested in this year in college football? Yep. Chris, something very interesting happened today. Iowa's starting defensive tackle is suspended for the year due to the whole betting allegations. So How do you? I mean, I don't know if you saw that or not. Did you see it?
I did, and I had to one laugh because it's Iowa. I'm not gonna piss off I already pissed off the Bama fans. I'm not gonna piss off the Iowa man today. I don't know. As a college athlete, I was one at one point for a short stint. Like, I don't understand. You know that you can't do that. Why would you be doing it? And Iowa's a football team. If this guy was even good or maybe a practice squad guy, it just, to me, is almost hysterical at this point. Like, we talked about the kicker a couple weeks ago, right, Christian? He was betting on games on the under, and he made a field goal in the game to put him over. I mean, what is going on with this betting thing? We've seen it in the NFL. Calvin Ridley did it. You know, like there's Jameson Williams bet on a game. He's suspended for 6 games with the Lions this year. We just talked about him a second ago. I just don't understand. I guess me personally, like, you guys make a lot of money. These guys are making NIL money. I don't know particular how much this guy was making. Doesn't matter. You know, what are you betting $5 on FanDuel? You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing anymore, man? Like, Chris, I want to hear your thoughts on this and betting. And it just, like, we bet because we're old and we wish we were athletes. But
I've changed my stance on this. I mean, a lot as far as the whole betting thing is concerned. Yeah, I just think if you're involved in the game, just don't do it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really make any sense for you to be betting, whether you're betting on your team to win, you're betting on them to lose, whatever, overs, unders, right? It really just doesn't make sense here. So, I really don't know. And we're going to get to something here in just a second, right? Yeah. I'm going to kind of make a point, and then I'm going to make another point here in just a second.
Please do.
You know, Chris, I think that as far as this whole Iowa situation is concerned, dude, they lost Jack Campbell. They lost Riley Moss. They lost some depth pieces out of the transfer portal
100%.
To other teams. Now you're losing Lucas Van Ness, a first-round pick from last year. You go in, and you're losing a starting defensive tackle. I mean, that was the best part of Iowa's team last year was
100%.
their defense, right? Yeah. So you lose all those pieces. You're going to have to retool that. There's a chance that you're going to take a step back on defense this year. How much better can that offense realistically be? I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Cade McNamara, but who the hell is he going to throw the ball to?
Nobody.
And don't tell me some 5'8" white kid from Des Moines, Iowa, right? That's all cool, right? I'm not trying to knock that or anything like that, but
right.
Let's be serious here for just a second. It's just not. It's not going to work.
It's not going to work, and you're exactly right. Like, when I read this, I said, Iowa's defense has always been their strong point, right? That's what kept them in the season last year. Playing with Ohio State was crazy. They couldn't literally move the ball 5 inches on offense with Petrus. Thank God my Huskers beat them out in the last game of the year to knock them out of the Big 12 playoff game. But I mean, what the hell are we doing if you're Iowa? Like, it does. To me, this whole thing is just stupid overall. To me, it's I'm with you, but you can't be doing this stuff. Like, it's just NCAA's got to lock down on this. I don't know how they track it, but there's a lot of devices out there they can do this stuff with. They figure it out later on. Figure it out sooner than later. And as a high school, as a college athlete, knock it off. When you're done, go bet on. I bet on games. I mean, me and Christian bet on games all the time. NFL, basketball, football, college football, golf, whatever. Jesus, man. Like, it just, to me, like, Iowa didn't need this to happen to them. I'm standing up for Iowa here. Like, that didn't need to happen, because the last thing you need is taking away pieces from their defense. That their defense has been stellar. Last how many years, Christian, been rated in the top 15 every freaking year? I mean, they're elite on defense.
Yeah, elite, dude. I mean, you said it. We're going to see. We are going to see. This kind of brings us to talking about giveaways, man.
Yeah.
I think it's time, because I mean, this is like the third or fourth show now since we've come out with the giveaways, that every 20 minutes, we keep getting a comment about talking about giveaways. We're not going to do that. Right. We're not going to do it. Not going to do it. Right. It's one of those things where we're doing a giveaway. Fantastic. If I click on a podcast or I click on a show and every 5-10 minutes they're talking about doing a giveaway, or they're talking about one thing that's not really related to the show, I'm probably going to click off. Once a week, we'll talk about it at our own discretion. Okay. Me and Chris have got this. We want to run the show how we want to do it. We don't need an executive producer telling us how and when to do things. We appreciate the support. We just want people to come in and focus on college football. That's all we need. Just come in, talk football. Don't worry about the giveaways. Don't worry about how many subs we got. Just you come in and you enjoy it. The channel's going to do what it's going to do, and it's going to grow. We've changed a lot of things up. We're continuously making changes, right? One of the biggest changes that we've made is we're starting the show at 7, not 8 o'clock. We're doing that for a very specific reason too, Chris. I'll let you kind of talk about why we're doing that.
Yeah, well, I mean, this just brings into a great topic, and we're not trying to go ham on anybody that's watching this or anybody that's in the chat. This is a low number chat tonight, but like, guys, we do this because we love talking college football. This is not about me and Christian sitting here trying to bring money into the channel or anything like that. You know, I would like to compare my life to most of you guys in the chat. So if you guys want to have that discussion, email me and we can talk about that. Christian works his ass off every single day, just like I do. This is what works for, you know, us and our families. And talking giveaways, this giveaway is more trying to build up the brand. I'm not coming on here talking giveaways every single day. Christian said it perfectly. We're not doing that. The reason why we're starting at 7 tonight is because this is what works best for Christian's family and my family. And if it's not important enough to you guys to join in at 7, that's okay. We're cool with that. You know, we're going to be here. We're not going anywhere. Trust me, you guys aren't going to laugh us off the internet. And I love our fan base. I truly do. And I love that you guys come on here and interact. But at the end of the day, man, we're just here to talk college football. We're here to have a good time. We want to hear, you know, what's kind of cool about our channel, I think that kind of breaks us away. And there's a bazillion other college football channels out there. We know that. We're not dummies. Christian and I are definitely not people that don't know what's going on in the real world. But what we do know is we love talking college football. We really want to interact with you guys. Tell me that I'm wrong in the chat. Tell me wrong that if you don't catch the live show, tell me why I'm wrong on YouTube. Tell Christian why Georgia is not winning 3 in a row. And he'd probably agree with you. You know, like we're one of these people, man. And we're not going to do what is obviously going to make every single person happy. If you guys, obviously, this is where it kind of upsets me is like, I was an athlete in high school. So was Christian. I'm never going to make everybody happy. It's like being a ref in any sport, right, Christian? You can make a call. It don't matter how perfectly you call a game. The other team is going to be pissed at you no matter what happens. So we're doing what we have to do for us. And I hope it helps you guys out. And I appreciate the guys like Daniel, Mike, you know, Children of the Corn, guys that come in here and give us some information. Tell us what we think. Tell us if we're wrong. Not to drag on with this long-winded segment, but talk about giveaways, man. No offense, Crypto Man, you've dropped this like 40 times in the last 3 weeks, man. We have our giveaway. It's on our channel. Anybody that follows us definitely can find it. We're definitely going to do it. I just sent Mike a helmet the other day or today. Hopefully you got it. I don't know. And Mike's a good subscriber. He's very active in the chat. We're doing what we want to do, what works best for Christian and I at the end of the day, man. I'll leave it at that.
And I'm going to say this to kind of wrap up on it too. I think, you know, everything Chris said was 100% right. I really think that this actually benefits you guys probably more than you realize, right? Because with us starting, you know, again, with us starting the show at 7, it allows us to get through all the segments we want to get through so we can get it all clipped out, put onto YouTube, do everything that we want to do. It just works okay there. But the other side of it is, you know, around 8 o'clock, we can then transition the show and we can talk. I mean, dude, on a Wednesday night, we can talk with the fans for a couple hours, dude. I mean, we can talk comments, we can do a call-in show, we can do all that stuff for a couple hours. So it really allows us to kind of be a little different, right? I mean, a lot of shows that you see out there, they might read a comment every now and again. They'll probably do an hour-long show, or they might do a 3-hour-long stream, but it just gets to be a lot. So we really want to keep the fans entertained, and we know, hey, a lot of our fans come over at 8 o'clock after watching some other shows. So it just makes a lot more sense to us to kind of do it this way, right? Everybody kind of wins by us doing this. So,
right. No, and Kristen said it best. I'll wrap it up on my end. I don't think you guys realize how hard it is to do your own show. The amount of pre-work that Christian and I do, I know you might think, oh, yep, just me grabbing my buddy and we hop on air and talk about stuff. No, we're not just a Nebraska channel, right, Christian? We
Oh,
talk
no.
about so much college football. We have to have what I would call a pregame meeting. And we kind of talk about, hey, this is where we want to go with stuff. Christian's the guy in the background editing this out. You think this stuff is easy? Trust me, it is not. I try to keep the channel going. We posting stuff, talking about stuff, keeping shit relevant, guys. Not trying to go down the rabbit hole here, but there is a lot that goes into this. It's important to me and Christian. You guys are a big part of that too, but we know what we're doing here, man. I love the support. Guys, like I said, Daniel, Mike, Nighthawk, even Crixus, who jumps in here and calls me a clown half the time. I love that, man. Come in. Tell us why we're wrong. Tell us why we're right. We'll interact with you guys, like Christian said. We're not somebody that's going to sit there and overlook you guys. I think that makes us different from a lot of people. Watch this thing grow. See where we're going here in a couple months, man. But overall, that was where we're going with this. Christian, I'll kick it back to you here. Do we have anything else to touch on tonight other than maybe chat? Some questions here. Looks like Daniel's got a question.
Yeah, so he was talking about, I did see, and again, Mike, the Venmo should be right there at the bottom of the screen, should be, pulling up right there. It's at I-80 boys. We really appreciate that, brother. It really means a lot to us.
Yeah, no shit.
So, but Daniel says, have we seen something about the Washington AD, Jen Cohen, taking the AD job at USC? I did see that one, or the Nebraska AD taking the Ohio State AD job. So that's Trev Alberts, right? I haven't seen that one. I just looked it up. I haven't seen that yet, so I don't know if anything's as far as that is concerned.
Daniel, do you have anything else to add to that, actually? That's for the Nebraska thing especially. I have not seen that. I would find that super hard to believe, but if you got some inside sources, please let me know. Holy smokes. I find it hard to believe, though, that he would – I mean, with bringing Rule in, Trev Alberts is a Nebraska guy. He played here in Nebraska. Was one of our best D linemen we ever had. Played in the NFL. I think it was like he was like a top 3 pick in the NFL. Hard to believe that he would leave Nebraska for the Ohio State man. But if you got something on that, please let us know. He said he thought I saw something on Twitter. Well, okay.
No, Ted Carter from Nebraska is who he said would be the president's job. Or President Ted Carter going to Ohio State. Well, that's a little different. I'll be honest, I'm not as plugged in with a lot of the.
He did. Yeah. That did happen. Yes, he's right. No, okay. President, yes, he did. That was brought up on Rule. They asked Matt Rule last night on, I think it was one of the channels. I can't remember who it was, but said something about that. And Matt Rule agreed. He's like, yeah, kind of sad to see him go. He's right. Well, wasn't the AD, but the president. Yep.
I can tell you this, right? It sucks. It's kind of like any company out there. When your boss leaves to take another job, nobody's job is safe almost. Right. But I will say this. I mean, I think it'll be okay. The only thing that kind of cures that is winning, right? With a new AD, new president, the only thing that can kind of cure that is winning there. Daniel said he thought he saw something on Twitter. Dude, don't you love that? I mean, nowadays, and I love it too, right? The official source of everybody is Twitter, the news source, right?
I know.
I mean, I'm impressed with that, dude. That's pretty awesome. But it's okay. Like I said, I mean, it's one of those kind of tough things where presidents, ADs, I mean, unless it's like a coach or somebody, I mean, there's more turnover, I feel like, in a lot of those positions than there is sometimes a lot of the coaching positions or whatever have you. So,
no, it's by the way, me and Christian were just alluding to earlier, like, good topic. Thank you for dropping that in the chat. That was something I learned. I did not know it was the president. I didn't think the AD left in Trev Alberts, but holy shit, good topic. I did. Now you say that, ring a bell. I'm like, I did hear about that the other day. That was a possibility. So thank you, chat. Like I said, we learn stuff too. We're normal human beings here. Man. Anything else, guys?
Yeah, so we'll segue this into our last hot take of the evening here, Chris. Hot take: Notre Dame beats Ohio State this year. Chat, tell us what you think. Chris, what do you think, though?
Oh, my God, man. This one's tough for me. Is it a possibility? Absolutely. Christian, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I can hear you.
Okay. I think it's a possibility. I think it's a good possibility. I mean, we look up the matchup predictor here. That's 3/4 of the fans saying Ohio State wins this. The only big thing here with me, though, is Last year, this game was 21-10. We alluded to that, earlier when we talked about this. But that was the first game of the year. Notre Dame plays Clemson, Ohio State, and USC this year, guys. I think Notre Dame probably pulls off one of those upsets. God, if it is Ohio State, I'll be super pumped as a fan. But I expect it to be higher scoring this year. If Notre Dame's offense and Sam Hartman against that Ohio State butt-soft defense against the run, if they can run the ball, Christian, yes, this will happen. Sam Hartman is going to have to probably play the best game of his life, though. And I mean that because it's going to have to be a high-scoring type of shootout, 30-30, some type of game, personally, even though I've just talked about Notre Dame's defense earlier in the segment, that they're going to be good. But I've always said this, Ohio State's defense can't stop a fucking nosebleed.
Yeah.
If Notre Dame can run the football, Sam Hartman can complete the 3rd and shorts, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 7. If you get into that position a multitude of times, I actually think this could happen. The more I think about this, and I don't care much about the matchup prediction. That's a bunch of Buckeyes fans sitting there just hammering at home, and that's fine. But this game is at Notre Dame, if I'm not mistaken, in South Bend. Could be very, very interesting. I think this game is like one of those 31-27, 27-24 type of games. It's there for me. I don't know. I got to see a little bit more before I make a bet on this, but I think we're going to talk about this in the future if this comes up and both teams are looking at like an undefeated up to that point, or maybe a one-loss Notre Dame team type of thing. These are the type of hot takes that I love, though. Go ahead, Christian. I'm gonna let you talk here a little bit.
Yeah. So, it's like you said, dude, I mean, I'm going to have to see them play, but Chris, to me, this is what makes this game really interesting to me, because I think for the first time in a while, Notre Dame has the better quarterback, right? And
I
this
would
is
agree. That's a good point.
They have the better quarterback. I mean, they play each other every so often, but here's the thing, dude. I don't know the last time, Notre Dame's had a better quarterback than them, right? So this to me makes it very interesting. The defense, right, is going to be one of the best in the country at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So, this, and we kind of touched on it a little bit as far as Ohio State. This is the first time in the Ryan Day era they've had a quarterback kind of controversy or competition on their hands. And by all accounts, by the way, in this new era where everybody's getting named a starter, just so everybody knows, neither Brown or McCord have been named a starter yet. They haven't separated themselves yet either. So, to me, it's interesting, though, Chris. This game's played at Notre Dame, right? So historically a tough place to play. So the Golden Domers, they're going to be hyped up for some revenge from last year. Give me Notre Dame, by the way, in this game. I'm not at the point yet where I'm going to make a prediction, and that is always subject to change. Again, sorry twice in 1 year, in one calendar year, to go ahead and piss you guys off over there at Ohio State.
The Ohio State man is fuming. I love it. By the way, if you're an Ohio State man, you watch this, which a bunch of them do, they just don't like or subscribe to our channel. They get super butthurt anytime we say Ohio State is not going 100-0, and I don't give a shit. That's okay, as long as you keep watching. Good take, by the way, Christian, on that. The more I think about it, you made a perfect point, a point that I did not think of. Notre Dame's got the better quarterback. I don't care which one they name out of the Ohio State starters. And we all know that Ryan Day has been a plug-and-play guy, right? And I think those guys are going to put up – whoever he names the starter is going to probably put up good numbers. I'll take Sam Hartman, though. I just know. I've watched him play for a lot of years. Most of us have. I think he can throw the football. But I think if Notre Dame can run the ball in that game against that soft, baby shit soft Notre Dame or that Ohio State defense, Christian, I think that game's going to be an actually very interesting game. That's to be determined. We're going to talk about this more in the future when that game comes up. I like that hot take, though. It's one of the best hot takes we've done.
Dude, I agree with you. I hope, just for entertainment's sake, this game is I hope they're both undefeated, dude. I mean, again, and if we get a couple of these matchups where they're undefeated, it's a top 25 matchup. Oh man, we might call a couple games, dude. We might do we might mess around. We might mess around on like rivalry weekend and do like a 12-hour long stream, dude. I mean, don't get it twisted.
Don't sleep on us, Christian. Watch Christian get so drunk he can't even talk.
I think that would be. I think the chat wants to see that, dude, for sure.
They do. They do. Then the real Georgia man comes out. Mike's got a question here. He says, "I 80 boys. Did you see Reggie Bush suing the NCAA for defamation since he lost his Heisman a few years?" Yes, I did see that today. He has a very good point. Johnny Manziel somehow kept his by getting paid a fuck ton of money. I do not blame Reggie Bush for that. Reggie Bush was by far the best player in the country. I'm a big Reggie Bush fan, by the way, even though I'm not a USC fan. He's got a point here. Players were getting paid back then. Players were getting paid 20 years before Reggie Bush was getting paid. Just because you're getting paid money doesn't have anything to do how you perform on the field. Reggie Bush was the best player in college football that year, and it wasn't even close. He deserves the Heisman Trophy. I could give shit less about whether he was getting paid because I knew he was getting paid as a person back then. That was actually my era coming through high school into college. Good question. Stupid in the NCAA to even do this. This has been talked about forever about Reggie Bush. Christian, they've been paying college athletes for since the
beginning of time, dude. I mean, just
let's get on.
I look at this. I'll give you an interesting analogy for this, right? This would be like in baseball, professional baseball, if tomorrow they just said, you know what, screw it, steroids are legal. If the steroids ever became legal in baseball, because that's essentially what the NCAA did, right, with the whole NIL, all that stuff, right? But if that was the case, dude, give Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, give them back the home run thing there, dude. You know what I'm saying? Give it back to him. I think they should give the Heisman back to him. I know this was a voluntary surrender as far as the whole Reggie Bush stuff was concerned. And the Heisman, they didn't force him to give it back. He voluntarily surrendered it, I guess, because they probably said something along the lines of, hey, if you don't, we're going to probably blackball you from a lot of different stuff, so you might as well just give it back. And so, you see it, dude. I mean, those Heisman House commercials during the season, I mean, how much money is he probably missing out on just from that alone?
Right, 100%. So I'll say this to you, Christian. We all saw the Johnny Manziel thing that came out a couple weeks ago on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
He's on there. The guy was getting paid money. I mean, so how does he get to keep his, even though everybody and their dog, and A&M, by the way, has been doing this since the 70s when Eric Dickerson and all those guys at SMU got the death penalty back in the 70s or early 80s. We all knew it. They said it on there, even that 30 for 30, that A&M was the worst. They paid more money than anybody could, even in the NFL. So we knew that it was going on with A&M and Johnny Manziel. And he comes out publicly and says that. And I know this happened before that, but still, my point is like, how does Johnny Manziel get to keep his shit, but Reggie Bush doesn't? I'm sorry, man. This whole thing is to me, this is again where the end we started the show off with this with Michigan and the NCAA and this, 3-game, suspension, handed down for Michigan. But it's like, this is where the NCAA just doesn't have a fucking clue what the hell they're doing. They look like a bunch of stooges. And Reggie Bush, he voluntarily gave it back out of good faith, and give the guy back he was the best player in college football, regardless of what he was getting paid. He was going to get paid from somewhere, but just happened to be USC that year. And at the end of the day, rightfully so. I mean, he was unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, dude, you're definitely not wrong. I mean, it's a situation where it's just a new era of football now, man. I mean, it's a new era of football where, there's certain players, there's certain instances where you go back and you kind of say, hey, give the guy his Heisman back, man. I mean, just give him the damn Heisman back.
Well, this is why this NIL became this, because of guys like Reggie Bush. He was making the program so much money selling his jersey, just like the Nebraska guys were back in the 90s. Just like Danny Werfel was selling his jersey for hundreds of dollars, and the poor kid wasn't getting a penny, but he was the guy throwing 100 touchdown passes in his career. You know what I mean? Like those kids deserve something. I get that, and I'm not against that at all. I just hate the fact that like the NCAA has been just so oblivious to what really is going on, and they're just a money whore. And now this is where college football now it's karma comes around full circle, And I don't know what happens with this Reggie Bush thing. By the way, great question, Mike. I don't understand. Money, just like steroids don't make you hit a baseball. It can make a ball. You can hit a routine pop fly further, but it doesn't change your hand-eye coordination. It's one of those things. Like,
yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
The kid was getting paid a bunch of money under the table in 2005, and Reggie Bush still didn't make him run for all of his touchdowns. Still make him electrifying when he took a kick return or a punt return to the house. That was Reggie Bush. He was the best player in the country. We all know that. Super simple.
Nighthawk, again with a good question here. He said, will USC win the Natty? Can they?
Yeah,
yes.
they can.
Will they?
No. Defense.
They're going to be better this year. Chris touched on it. They're going to be better this year on defense. But again, Lincoln Riley's the coach. How many? And he's had some talented teams over in Oklahoma, right?
Oh yeah.
How many playoff wins does Lincoln Riley? So, I mean, again, don't get me wrong. Until I see it, right? Until I see it, I just can't. I cannot get hyped about it, right? Until I see it, I won't believe it, man. That's the big thing, right?
I'm in the same boat. Just to add on to you, Christian, I don't think USC is a bad team this year. I don't think they lose to Tulane in Utah twice. I have to laugh about that. Nothing against Utah, man, but they lost twice to them last year. USC, their offense will be great. Lincoln Riley's proven it. They're great. He's got a Heisman Trophy winner back at quarterback. Okay, cool. All right. But a big game when you're playing somebody that can't play defense. Why did Tulane come in there and beat your ass then? We could say that about Oklahoma. It happened the same thing with them. They get blown out the fucking, playoff game. USC is one of those teams I think has a chance to make the playoff, but you better hope to God you're not playing Georgia or one of those SEC schools right off the rip. I'll say that because it's not going to happen. I don't even care how good USC looked through the Pac-12. I'm not taking an SEC school to lose to a Pac-12 team this year. I won't, and unless it's Utah or Washington. Washington, I'll say that because I think they probably have the best defense in the Pac-12. I put USC, they should be better, but I just can't. I mean, Christian, we talk about this all the time. History, you know what I mean? You are what your record or you are what your stats kind of say you are at the end of the year. USC is a great offensive team. They're impressive. They got every eye-popping thing on offense. They got Caleb Williams. I get it. He's electric. But when it really matters, Lincoln Riley is like Ryan Day in a way. You just haven't got it done when it really, really matters. And sorry, Ohio State, man, but anytime I can fucking point it at you, I will. It's the truth. Live with it.
Yeah, Chris. I mean, like you said, dude, you bring up a lot of really good points there. Again, drop your comments down below. Who do you guys think is going to win the national championship this year?
Please do. I want to hear it.
Again, I mean, I'm legitimately curious. What teams are you excited? Again, what teams are you most excited about? Right? Mike says he's curious to see Austin's offense with Eric Bieniemy's new OC. Yeah, as far as the NFL is concerned, that's going to be kind of an interesting dynamic. They've looked good in the preseason thus far.
Yes, they do. I'll tell you what, Sam Howell looks good there. He makes a good point. But I'll jump on this because I'm an NFL guy. But they should be pretty electric on offense. I would think so. I think he's gonna. That's one thing about Bieniemy, man. He has no problem pissing off people on his team. That's for sure.
And I think it was, who was it? Shady McCoy. I think I saw him kind of come on and he kind of touched on him a little bit. And he just said, I'm really feeling him like that.
Tyreek Hill said the same thing.
Yeah. So it's like, man, obviously I think he's an old school style coach, right? And in this new era, it doesn't matter what level you're at either. You kind of have to. We've even seen this from Nick Saban a lot more, dude. Saban's kind of, I think, like changed up his coaching style with this new NIL transfer portal, sort of whole thing there, right? And it started in the pros. Everything in the pros eventually trickles down to college, 100%. And it's just one of those things where, it's going to be very interesting to see. It's X's and O's from that standpoint. I think they're good, but it's about cohesion. Can they keep it together? He did that obviously all those years with Mahomes and the Chiefs. So no, it'll be interesting.
So I got a question for chat and Christian. Who did Eric Bieniemy play college football for?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I do.
Don't know. Well, don't
else?
tell me.
I'm gonna give these guys about 20 seconds here to answer my question. Who did Eric Bieniemy play college football for in the 90s? What team? Come on, man.
Interesting.
I do all the questions on the channel all the time. I'm stumping you guys of late. Who is it? I remember him. I was really little, but I remember him.
I think we got a winner. We got a winner.
Hey!
Huskers in Hanover.
You bet. Also won a national title. They split one with Georgia Tech. Nice. All right. See, Huskers in Hanover, I'm not as old as you think I am. I mean, I'm old, but I'm not as young, I should say, as you think I am. Good call, though. That guy, very impressive right there. Very impressive. I was waiting for it.
Mike got it. He said the Buffaloes too.
Yeah, yep, he did.
Chris,
nice.
Chad, don't let him fool you. This guy's old as shit over there.
Yeah, I'm old as shit. I'm 38, but I remember him. I knew that one. He's running.
They were still playing with leather helmets when Chris was in high school.
Yeah, well, yeah. Unfortunately, so was your mom, Christian. But we're not talking about that kind of helmet. All right. Anyway, moving on here. Are we dropping into chat here?
Yeah, we'll look a little more into the chat. Like I said, I mean, again, kind of what teams are you most excited to talk about this year? Again, here in the chat, let us know what your thoughts are. What games are you excited about? I mean, again, we're going to be calling a lot of the different games this year, so it'll be interesting. Like I said, it's going to be really interesting to kind of take a look and see, who's playing who. That's the great thing about college football. Some of the games we've got circled on the calendar as the year progresses, obviously that's all subject to change as far as that stuff's concerned. But, Chris, let's talk about Oregon for a second, right? While we're letting the chat kind of put in some comments and everything like that. A team you're very, very high on, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, 100%.
The Ducks, they obviously get back Bo Nix, Dan Lanning's second year, lose some defensive pieces, but they also get some in through the portal. I think they get most of their offensive line back, if I'm not mistaken. They're gonna be a formidable team over there, right? In that.
How do you rate them this year, Christian? Overall, like where do you see them at the end of the year finishing? It's an interesting team. I've seen so many different takes on these guys.
Top 15 team for sure. To me.
Okay. So who are you throwing out of the Pac-12? Utah, Oregon State? Are you throwing Washington out of that? Or are you saying Oregon wins? It goes 10-2. USC.
I would say.
What would you say?
I guess, like for me, I would probably say, I got to take Daniel's side on this. Give me Washington up there, even though they just lost a running back. To me, hey, they're going to retool. Offense flows through Penix and the receivers, so they'll still be fine there. But give me Washington, then USC, then Oregon, Utah, and then Oregon State. I mean, there's a lot of good teams there, right? I know some other teams, some other fans will jump in and start trying to tell us, hey, no, our school's here. Like Colorado fans will jump in and say something like Colorado is going to be the best team in the Pac-12, and
okay. UCLA's got 100 times better chance of finishing way higher than Colorado does. Oh.
So, yeah, I mean that's kind of where I guess that's kind of where I see it at. So,
no, I agree.
Mike says here's an interesting fact, right? And I saw this earlier here from him. Michigan has never beaten Nebraska in Lincoln by more than 3 points.
I see where he's going with this. He's not probably wrong. Mike, I got a question for you though, buddy. I'll give you one of these. Hey, how's it going to work this year when they come into town? I just got to see what I got to say here, man. Because Michigan doesn't lose anything off of last year's team. Essentially, it should be 100 times better. And they come into Nebraska. I'm actually going to that game, I think. So maybe.
I guess this brings up an interesting question here, right?
Nebraska beats
Huskers
Michigan.
in Hanover. Yeah, Huskers in Hanover says Nebraska beats Michigan. Mm-hmm. I can tell you right now, Nebraska wins 2 games all year, but they beat Michigan.
No.
That's not going to happen. Like, I don't think they're going to win 2 games this year, right? Obviously.
No,
but
we don't beat Michigan. I don't. There's as much as I want to, as a Nebraska fan, think that's going to happen, and I love the optimism, but not a chance in hell, man.
I think, to me, again, just seriously, if they can keep this within a 2-score game to end the game there, that would be, I guess, a moral victory. But again, you still have a 7-8 win season. You play a team like Michigan. It's within 14 points. A team that, should they make it to the playoffs again this year, which, hey, we'll see. That's a hell of a first year for them, right? And he also kind of goes on to say, by the way, Daniel also says Ryan Grubb is still the OC at Washington. Very good point.
Yep.
Very good point there, man. So don't sleep on the Huskies for sure. If you're betting, obviously take the Huskies in just about every game this year.
100%.
Not saying we will win, but Frosted Flakes was able to coach, then to lead that entire game until last minute. And Rule's by far a better coach, and there's a puncher's chance. I mean, yeah, he's absolutely not wrong. I mean, the problem with it was that was 2 years ago. Right, and I know I pissed Chris off earlier when I talked about the greatest 3-9 team ever assembled.
No, you get me fucking started. Your record is what it says you are.
No, I mean, I agree, right? And the difference there, by the way, was this is what makes it interesting, right? Because, and I was thinking about this today, right? I was thinking about this today at work, probably while I should have been working, but I digress. To me, Chris, when I look at that team, right, and I look at that loss by 3 points, Nebraska over the last couple of years has been somewhat interesting because it was always you guys had really good defense, right? Pretty much from the time you came into the Big Ten, you guys were playing up there with Big Ten standards of defense.
100%.
The offense was a little different, right, and it was very spotty, especially the Adrian Martinez years, right? So for me, last year things changed. Defense got gashed and offense looked good, right? I just want to see Nebraska play consistent football on both sides of the field. Balanced football. If they can do that, because you see a lot of teams do that, right? I mean, you see a ton of teams do that. They can do that?
Yeah.
They got a shot.
If they do that, they have a shot. But when you're talking against Michigan, Michigan's better on defense than we are. They're better on offense than we are.
Yeah.
You have a first-year head coach. Jim Harbaugh's been there forever. Let's just state the obvious here. I mean, I'm not trying to piss off the Nebraska man here, but let's just hope. You know what, guys? How about we just go into that game 4-0?
Yeah.
That's all I want. We lose by 14 or less, I'll take it as a win. We got to turn around and play Illinois the next week.
Ooh.
Not an easy game. And we also have Wisconsin and Iowa on the schedule and Maryland after that. I'm not trying to look ahead here, guys. I'm just saying, like, if we go into that game undefeated, fuck it. And that's great. But let's get by Minnesota week 1. We don't know what's going to happen. I know the first week of the season doesn't determine who we are. At the end of the season, we saw that last year. But overall, as a Nebraska fan, and I dare you guys to find anybody that probably knows and or talks more shit on the internet than me about Nebraska. Let me know. But this year is it's going to be tough, and Michigan is very far superior. I know nobody wants to hear that. I don't like Michigan either, but again, I'm a realist. Christian knows this. You guys probably should have been playing Michigan in the national title game last year. Didn't happen that way. We all saw what happened to Georgia against TCU. TCU beat Michigan. So this is where we need to get to overall. So talking about us going 10-2, 11-1, man, I'm not saying you guys dropped that in the chat. You guys didn't, but I've seen people say that, and it's just like, come on, man. This year's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard fought. I think Rule's a good coach. I think what he's done is great overall. But you could talk a good game. Scott Frost talked a good game too. So did Mike Riley. So did Bo Pelini. So did Frank Solich. So did Tom Osborne at times. I mean, it in '96 he did. I mean, it's we got to prove it on the field at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, I'm a guy that's game by game. Let's just look at this Minnesota game, week 1. We're actually 7.5 point underdogs going into that game. You guys really want to, I say this all the time, Christian. If you're really truly about what you say, and put your money where your mouth is, I'll see you on the betting line then, because I do it too. I mean what I say, and I think this Nebraska game is going to be very, very interesting against Minnesota. We get by that. We also have to go on the road to Colorado. Not saying Colorado is a formidable foe, but Colorado is an old school rival. So I'll
tell you this.
Christian. Go ahead.
I'll tell you this as we get ready to kind of wrap up here, Chris. Nebraska has a better shot, and Husker and Hanover says Nebraska is not going 10-2. I'll say this for dramatic effect. Nebraska has a better shot at going 10-2 than Colorado does winning 5 games.
I agree. I do agree with. I will agree with that. Perfect. Right. No, Husker, he just dropped it. He said Nebraska goes, I'll take a 6-6 win with an upset over Michigan. I'll take that too. I'll take a 6-6 season with a loss to Michigan, and we beat Wisconsin. I'm fine with whatever the record is at the end of the year. As long as it's 6 wins, we get a bowl game. Most Nebraska fans are going to say, hey, we'll take that. But there are the outlier that, when you sit there and put the expectation at 10-2, 9-3, 8-4, and they don't go that, you're the same guy saying, oh, fire Matt Rule. Fire Matt Rule. He don't know what the fuck he's doing. That pisses me off because you already put the expectations against you. Matt Rule said, again, I've said this, 3 times tonight, Christian? He said, give me 2 years. Give me 2 years. We'll see where we're at in 2 years. I think Nebraska definitely wins more than 3 or 4 games this year. I do. I truly do. Whether that's 5, 6, 7, 8, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. But this first week against Minnesota, I'll be able to tell you guys more. And we're doing that game live. By the way, guys, join that game live, by the way. We're also doing the Utah-Florida game live as well. It starts at the same time. That's a big one, especially for me and Christian. We're going to be on air live watching those games. Please join in, stop in, drop your questions. We will answer them. We're not like every other YouTube channel, by the way, as we mentioned earlier. We do answer questions. I mean, we don't give a fuck what team you're rooting for.
Right. We don't care, dude. And if we don't know, we'll research it. We'll get it figured out, and we'll come back even better. But and that kind of is a good segue here, I think, for us, Chris. And just so everybody knows what the schedule is going to be, again, some people aren't in tonight. That's okay. If you guys are in a chat with them or whatever have you, let them know as the season gets kicked off. So from this point going forward, there's not going to be a Friday show anymore just while we're in season, okay? So the way it'll work is we're going to do a Wednesday night show around 7 o'clock, okay, which is when we're going to start. So the Wednesday night show is we're going to probably look to do a lot of our look-aheads from 7 to 8 o'clock to about 9, 10 o'clock. We'll probably end up trying to really focus and hammer in on the chat and kind of keep that thing going. On Fridays, on Saturdays, we'll probably end up calling a game. So we'll pick a game of the week that we do. This first week is kind of a little bit weird, so our schedule is going to kind of be off just slightly next week, but this week it'll be still on there. So Saturday we'll call a game. Sunday we're up bright and early at 9 a.m., and basically we're just going to do a breakdown of what just happened that week. So Sunday is the breakdown show at 9. Wednesday is the look ahead for the next week. And the reason why we're doing that is just because we want to be able to kind of get clips edited out and get them onto YouTube ahead of time. So if we can break it down on Sunday morning and we can get everything edited because of obviously the NFL schedule, then it makes it a lot easier for us to get it put out by Monday and Tuesday 100%. When a lot of people are still wallowing in their teams losing. On the Wednesday show, if we do the Wednesday show, we can do the look ahead and then obviously get everything clipped and edited out by Thursday, Friday, going into the season. So it makes it a lot easier for us. So again, the schedule going forward is going to be Wednesdays at 7. Okay, Wednesdays at 7. We're going to do a longer show, which is going to help you guys out a lot more so we can hit comments. And then we're going to skip the Friday. Saturday we'll call a game, and Sunday morning at 9. So I think it'll be pretty good, man. I really think it's going to be a good season for us here, Chris. I'm excited. The Florida Utah game, the Nebraska Minnesota game here in about the next week or so is going to be very interesting. I think probably how we'll do that is something we haven't really sat down and really discussed that much. Is I think I'll probably call the the Florida-Utah game while you kind of glance ahead and look at the Nebraska-Utah game, or the Nebraska-Minnesota game. Damn it.
No, and that's kind of the plan here, guys. So if you're a fan of college football, you're going to love this show. Me and Christian obviously like to bet a little money. We also like to talk anything college football. So like Christian said, if you guys don't want to join, that's fine. I would, though. We're going to be touching on everything in the comments. That's, like I said earlier, this is the one thing I think that we separate ourselves from a lot of channels. We'll talk on anything in the comments. We like to bounce back and forth. We're obviously still doing college football, but we still want to talk college football. I mean, we'll do certain teams. We'll do things like that. Overall, I think it's going to be a good thing. Yeah, we're changing up our schedule. We're going to do what's best for us. Like I said, at the end of the day, we are working people just like you guys are. We have families. We have jobs too. Trust me, full time. We just love talking college football. That's why we do this. And by the way, if you guys think this is easy, it is not. We still have to stick a lot of pregame into this. And this is something Christian and me have talked about for years before we started doing this. It was like kind of how we want to run a show, and we want to involve you guys. We want to be proactive. We want to do the right thing. At the end of the day, we're just human beings like everybody else. And we're going to do games this year, man. I'm one of those idiots you meet at a bar that doesn't want to talk about a certain team. I could sit here and talk Nebraska football all day, obviously, just like Christian could beat it down my throat that Georgia's the best team in the last 5 years. Get it. Respect it. But me and Christian, this is where we and him get into it, is like we want to talk other teams, talk other football. And that's why I love this, man. That's why I want to do it. And that's why we have a chat, right? That's why you guys can drop in and tell me, hey, USC's running the table this year, you idiot. Or, hey, Chris, Christian, George is losing 3 games this year. You're a dummy, right? We hear it all the time. Trust me, you guys don't probably follow us as much on YouTube, the actual channel. You got to see all the shit me and him get from Colorado fans, Alabama fans, Auburn fans, Florida fans. The Ohio State man has told us that we're just what was the word? A bunch of retards. I mean, that don't know anything. So it's all good. We take it with a grain of salt.
Their words, not ours. A couple more things with you real quick. I'm just going to do this. This is a new segment I kind of want to introduce. I-80 Boys Pick of the Week. Navy plus 20.5. Take it. Take it by God. Oh! Navy's not going to lose by more than 20.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are, Christian. No. Don't get me fired up tonight on a Wednesday night. I don't need to. No, do not. It's like you do this shit on purpose to piss me off, Christian. What in your right goddamn mind? Here we go. I'm grabbing the mic. What the hell are you talking about? You think Navy even scores more than 10 points in this game?
Yeah, I do. Like I said, it doesn't. Hey, listen, it doesn't matter if they score more than 10 points. They just need
I understand that you were in the military, and here we go. You were
not the Navy, son. I was in the Army, dude.
You might have been, though. And now I can say a word that I can't say, but you know where I'm going with this.
Don't say it, bro. Don't say it.
It's almost like you do this shit to piss me off and get me fired up. And now I know that I can't go ham on you. Notre Dame's scoring 40 this game. Navy is not scoring more than 50.
Come on. That's what they said last year. Look at the score last year.
Oh, you're one of those guys. Look at the score last
year. First game of the year for Sam Hartman, right? It's in Ireland, all right? Neutral site game. Weird things can happen. I'm just saying they changed the rules. We've touched on this earlier. Trust me, Chris. Trust me. Okay? Trust me.
I trusted you with my cousin. We saw how that worked out. Look,
well, we're still happily married.
So you say. At the end of the day, dude, I don't like. You really think so? Okay, give me the final score then.
I just did, dude. I gave you the. Hold on, let me go back and look at it here.
Here's the official final fucking score on this.
I gave you the final score here. Look, dementia is starting to onset here with you, dude. So
and you call me old.
Yeah.
You're 10 years younger than I am. God, you look like you're 60, but I mean, you move around like you're 80.
Nah, dude, I move around like a well-oiled machine, dude. I'm like Jared Lorenzen out here. All right, I got a little bit of
Lorenzen pan out. How'd he work
out? Man. Hey, brother, listen.
Oh my God.
R.I.P. Jared Lorenzen. All right, listen. But all I'm going to say is the dude was sneakily athletic. All right.
Yeah, just like you're sneakily athletic too, right? You picked up a beer on the floor is you making a move like you're busting through the left guard. Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
All right, so
go ahead. Let's get this out of here because we got a question here.
Navy 24, Notre Dame 31. Call me crazy. The rule change is going to make it hard for the running clock's going to make it hard for them to put up points, right? So
put the crack pipe down for one.
Put the crack.
What is it with you, Georgia people?
Dude, the chat knows. The chat knows.
Chat don't know shit when it comes to this. They know that Notre Dame is rolling through Navy. There we go. Answer this guy's question, please.
Clemson 22. I just caught the tail end of this. Watch you guys a couple times. I like this channel. Hey, listen, man, we really appreciate that. We definitely appreciate all the support that, we get. Obviously, if you've watched the show, I'm super high on Clemson this year. I'm kidding, but we still love the support, dude. I mean, we want to be a very encompassing college football show where we kind of, we get everybody in, man. It's like a big family here, so we appreciate it. I hope for your sake, Clemson turns it around this year. They cover and they take back control of that ACC, dude.
What's encompassing mean?
What do you mean? What's encompassing mean, man?
Redneck, backwoods hillbilly. What are you talking about? Encompassing? Like, you're trying to sound like you got big words over there. Like,
man,
really?
God bless, son. Hold on 1 second. Dude, now I'm gonna break out the dictionary. Encompassing.
It's like you don't even know what it means, and you said it.
All right. Well, I'm not gonna lie. Like when I read this, it says to surround and have or hold within. A vast halo encompassing the Milky Way galaxy is a definition of it, right?
Oh my god!
So
this guy's talking out his ass. Holy shit!
Look, man, don't worry about that. All right, listen, we appreciate it, Clemson 22. Either way, we love all the support.
This usually hasn't. I know the show is watchable about half the time. Appreciate you joining in. Holy shit! You caught us at a time where we're wrapping up here, and I just had to talk a bunch of shit to a Georgia man. So.
Couple things we're going to get into here real quick before we get off. Then seriously, we're going to get off. Mike says, off topic, I haven't been to Martinsburg, Nebraska. He says their hamburgers the size of a plate and single order fries weighing 2 pounds. Listen, if Chris is going to make a joke here, it's a fat joke, and I take food seriously, so I will have to check them out.
I have not.
For sure.
I have not. I've heard of the town. Holy shit! If that's true, Mike,
dude,
send me that address. You got my Addy email. Hit me up, man. Holy shit.
We're going to eventually. We're going to eventually do a combine between me and Chris. I think we should also make it a little bit fair and do like a food eating contest so you can eat the most food. You know what I'm saying, dude?
I'll do it. I'm down. I can eat.
Crypto says, sorry, not many people will be here on Sunday morning. Make it a Sunday night. Again, the Sunday morning thing there is really just so really the Sunday morning thing is really more so. And listen, dude, here's the thing. The Sunday morning aspect of this show is really more for us to be able to break down everything that happened. Okay. It's kind of a tough thing for us to stay up, until like 1 a.m. on a Saturday night, just because of the work schedule and everything. We like the NFL. We actually love the NFL. We play fantasy football against each other. So we want to be able to watch all the Sunday games. So we can't really do a Sunday night game because obviously there's NFL games that go on Sunday night, and we don't want to compete with that. So Sunday morning around 9 is kind of the best time because we can get on there, talk about what we want to talk about for about an hour. Next hour, boom, there we go. We already, at 8 p.m. will be way more better. Yeah, I mean, we touched on some of this stuff too. Again, I get it. A lot of people on the West Coast won't be up, 7 a.m. There's a lot of YouTubers that do that though, man. There's a lot of YouTubers that get up and do those shows on one of our guys we look up to, man, Uncle Lou. Every Sunday he does your season's over. And that thing goes live way before the first kick of an NFL game. So
no, at the end of the day, man, Crypto, like you, man, appreciate the sport, but also we got to do what's best for us. We're normal human beings. We can't work around every single individual schedule on this channel. So if you can't join, we'll probably have it uploaded that day. You can comment on YouTube, I guess, or whatever your thoughts are. We're definitely going to be back here with our schedule. We got, like I said, at the end of the day, me and Christian got to do what's best for us too. So I appreciate it. I don't have. By the way, thank you. We got a new guy in here, Clemson 22 tonight, man. I appreciate it, dude. I'll talk some Trevor Lawrence, some Deshaun Watson with you any single day, baby. I love those two guys.
Whoa, son, just keep it out of the massage parlors.
Oh, nice.
Oh, damn. No, loved him though in college. By the way, Crypto did say Navy was going to cover, so I think that's a good place for us to end. Guys, we will be back live at 1 o'clock on Saturday calling the Navy-Notre Dame game. Be there, wear a lot of green, support the Service Academy, and tell Chris why he committed a stolen valor act right there, disgracing my service, all right? Thank you so much. We'll catch you guys on Saturday.
We're out.